confirmed to Albert Hofmann personally that he thinks that without having taken LSD, he wouldn't have had the idea of his discovery, his scientific discovery, for which he received the Nobel Prize.
That's. I feel like I'm spending the whole hour telling Lucius to be quiet. No, hang on just a second, Lucius.
I think if you want to fight something, you could just have to spread rumors, and they will stay forever. And you could see titles in journals like LSD kills sex drive forever. They tried everything just to discredit it or to make people afraid of it. And I think it's true, but Leary once stated that accidents with LSD in over 30 years all over the world, it's much less than happens in one weekend with alcohol while driving.
That's the voice of Lucius Werthmüller. He's one of two authors of Mystic Chemist, The Life of Albert Hofmann and His Discovery of LSD. Also in the studio, his co-author, Dieter Hagenbach, and the book is out from synergeticpress.com. When we talk about the gradual acceptance of this, with you say the rise of the geek culture, is much more accessible now than it used to be, and they can look at the possibility of LSD or other psychedelics to the benefit of everyone. I can't help but think of another collision that's happening in the scientific world right now, and that is the rise of the atheist. And we're starting to see arguments in the scientific community that anything over and above hard knowledge, hard fact, closed experiments, double-blind studies, etc., as you say, Lucian, you're a parapsychologist, that is not accepted by a lot of scientists. It strikes me that that's another element of this, that there are the people who have the wider horizons of exploration and the other people who say, that's not science. Does that filter into the LSD story as well?
Yeah, I think so.
I would say so. It's like also homeopathy. You cannot prove it. You cannot find anything of the original substance in a homeopathic medicine. And that's where we come to the scientific. You should prove it. The scientific concept is we need proofs. And that's the same with parapsychology. It's out somewhere.
Which is proven by many experiments. But that are all accepted by all scientists.
Well, do you find that scientists in various countries are willing to talk to you on a level of scientist to scientist, or have you also been kind of cast into the role of the other who's dealing with crazy stuff?
That's a misunderstanding, because we can't talk from scientist to scientist because we are no scientists.
We are breadth of knowledge, though. I mean, you should think that would be respected.
But nevertheless, we are not scientists. We are not academic scientists. But I feel, especially with my work in parapsychology, that the Americans are most open to it, much more open than the Europeans. And academic parapsychology is mostly practiced in American universities, much more than in Europe.
Interesting. That surprises me, actually. Dieter, did you have thoughts on that? I thought you looked like you wanted to say something.
No?
Okay. Well, I have to ask you, you're going to be doing the conference here. Is this going to become an annual event?
No, I don't think so.
No,
okay.
No.
And in fact, our two conferences in Basel were the model for Rick Dublin from MAPS to set up a conference in the US. And he did one, that's the second one. And he wants us to do the next one again in Europe, in Switzerland. But we don't know yet if we will do it.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming in here. And the hour's been marvelous. It's gone by very fast. I wish you luck with the conference and with a beautiful book. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Andrew.
Absolutely. Synergeticpress.com is the website for the publisher. And again, the title of the book, The Life of Albert Hofmann and His Discovery of LSD. In Deep Radio is a production of Mix TV. Our executive producer is Gordon Whiting. Our engineer is Matt Fiddler. Our producer is Forrest Phillips with assistance from Kristen Stevens. Our studio manager is Jill Fiddler. Jana Barkless is our acquisitions producer for Mix TV. You can follow us on Twitter. We are at In Deep Radio. I'm on Twitter at Angie_Coiro, C-O-I-R-O. We want to hear your feedback, your suggestions via our website. You can go to indeepradio.com and send those along. Our opening theme is by Big Troubles. Our closing theme is by David Gans. Visit our website for extras from Gotta Laugh's commentary on the news and more. And we will see you next week. Thanks for being here. I'm Angie Coiro.
It gets better, but I know it's gonna get better. Yes, I know it's gonna get better, 'cause it almost always does. I can't say much about the who and how, but I believe it just because.
Thanks for tuning in this week to In Deep with Angie Coiro, a production of Talkback Studios. You can get more information about us at indeepradio.com. And while you're there, you can become a member and support our work. There's a link there to contact us, too, with any questions or feedback. We're developing a series on mental health issues in our country, especially in this economy, and we'd love to have you be part of that. Please send us your topic suggestions, your stories, and your questions through our website. Click the contact button at indeepradio.com. Join us again this time next week for 2 more hours of in-depth conversation. I'm Angie Coiro. We'll see you then. You're listening to WPWC 1480 AM, Dumfries, Virginia. We Act Radio, home of Washington's progressive working community.
Hello, this is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I want to tell you about my new favorite discovery, Yosemite National Park. I recently went there with my husband and children, and we walked the trails to see the breathtaking waterfalls, admired the grand meadows and giant sequoias. But the future of our national parks is uncertain. Many challenges face our parks today, from polluted air and water to development threats outside their borders and inadequate funding to protect our national heritage. That's why the National Parks Conservation Association recently completed a decade-long assessment of the challenges facing our national parks, along with proposed actions that will ensure our children and grandchildren will be able to enjoy the parks as we have. Our national parks have inspired Americans for nearly 100 years. As we approach the centennial of the National Park Service in 2016, please join us in helping to protect our national park legacy. Find out how at www.mpca.org.
Remember the date, March 27th, 2013. And remember the name, Windsor versus the United States.
Listen up. This matters. I'm Louis Black, and this is the Civil Liberties Minute with ACLU attorney Bill Newman.
For 40 years, Edie Windsor and Thea Spire shared their lives. Their marriage was fully recognized by the state where they lived, New York. After Thea Spire died in 2009, though, the Internal Revenue Service, instead of allowing the family home and other assets to pass to her spouse tax-free, as happens with any heterosexual married couple, it ruled that the law of the United States would treat and tax the two of them as if they were complete strangers. Because DOMA, the Federal Defense of Marriage Act, says that for all federal laws, including the tax law, the only marriages that will be recognized are those between one man and one woman. Edie Windsor, represented by the National ACLU, the New York CLU, and the law firm Paul Weiss, will argue before the United States Supreme Court that the lower federal courts got it right when they struck down DOMA as unconstitutional. So, for a while, hold on to the date, March 27th. By the end of its term in June, the Supreme Court will have decided this case and given us another date, a date on which, for decades to come, we will either celebrate freedom and equality or mourn the loss of both.
The Civil Liberties Minute is made possible by the American Civil Liberties Union, because freedom can't defend itself.
You're listening to We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Visit us online at weactradio.com.
Thanks to the lobbying clout of global corporations, governments worldwide tend to take a dangerously bass-backwards approach to environmental regulation. They accept a corporate product as safe until it's proven otherwise, usually after a great many funerals. A better approach is called the precautionary principle. requiring proof that a product is safe before a corporation pushes it on the public. The European Union recently considered putting this sensible principle into action. But in the face of furious corporate lobbying, the EU ran bass-ackwards. At issue was a proposed 2-year ban on some pesticides called neonicotinoids, widely suspected of causing mass die-offs of honeybee colonies. That's a big problem, for bees and for us humans too. Of the 100 crops that provide 90% of the world's food, 71 are pollinated by honeybees. No bees, no food. So, propose EU scientists, let's remove some of these chemicals for a couple of years to try saving the bees and our food supply. No, you don't, shrieked Bayer and Syngenta, 2 giant chemical conglomerates that make neonicotinoids. Their lobbyists swarm the EU, wailing that there is, quote, no scientific certainty that their poisons are causing this looming catastrophe. Of course, the whole idea of the modest moratorium was to test the probability that these pesticides are killing off the globe's bee population. With so much at stake, shouldn't we take the small precaution of scientifically examining whether that probability is, in fact, a certainty? No, said the profiteers, and that was that. Throwing caution to the wind, EU members narrowly voted to let the selfish interests of 2 corporations prevail over precaution and the public interest. This is Jim Hightower saying, neonicotinoids might not kill us, but greed certainly will.
If you like these feisty pops of populism that Hightower zings out on the airwaves, check out the Hightower Lowdown. Jim's monthly newsletter provides the in-depth lowdown on what the greed heads of Wall Street and the boneheads of Washington are doing to us behind the scenes. With Hightower's saucy Texas humor and truth-telling populist perspective, the Lowdown literally can lift you up. And get this, you can have the Lowdown delivered to your mailbox or email each month for only $15 a year. Yes, 12 issues, only $15. Check it out, hightowerlowdown.org.
You're listening to We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Visit us online at weactradio.com.
Hi, Grandpa. I'm calling from my new phone that I got for Christmas. It's an iPhone. I love you, and you're the first person I called. I love you. Bye.
Hey, this is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've gotten based on the sale price of the car you choose. I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to TimPohankaForThePeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Solid as a rock.
He's cared for the famine victims in Somalia. Bought back 3,000 guns to confront violence in D.C.
Something about what God is using him to do with us.
We will rock you. Rock with you. I wanna rock right now. Rock steady, baby.
Registered numerous people to vote. It's evident that he cares. What do you care about? Welcome to the Rock Newman Show. It's the Rock Newman Show.
Good morning, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. This is another segment of the Rock Newman Show at We Act Radio. 1480 on your AM dial and broadcast around the world, live streaming at www.rocknewmanshow.com. Today, April the 20th, 2013, we have an action-packed, loaded show for you today. We are expecting momentarily the president of the State Senate of Maryland, Thomas Mike Miller. Mike Miller has been the president of the Maryland Senate for the last 26 years. Many say that he is singularly the most powerful man in Maryland politics. I understand that there is a delay with the Senate President, Mike Miller, getting here at 1918 Martin Luther King Avenue, but we're going to continue. And again, I want to give out the telephone number for you to join today's conversation. And folks, we're going to be talking about some things today that I am hard-pressed to believe that you wouldn't want to be a part of and to contribute with your phone calls. The telephone number to reach us here on the hotline is 202-889-9797. One more time, I'll give you that number, 202-889-9797. You know, before I get into all that we're doing today, I think that it would be remiss if we didn't pay a little bit of attention to what has happened across this country this week in the Northeast and in Boston with the tragedies surrounding the Boston Marathon. It seems now that both of the perpetrators, the alleged perpetrators, have been, one is deceased and the other is captured. And our hearts go out to those who have been victimized by that tragedy. In Texas, you know, massive explosions, deaths, untold injuries. So from these studios, from this radio station, from my voice, I certainly give a heartfelt condolences to all who have been hit by those tragedies there and throughout the country and the rest of the countries. You know, the little 8-year-old boy there, I don't know if I'm paraphrasing him properly or not, but he certainly captured what I think was a seminal message. Stop hurting people. Peace. Out of the mouth of babes comes the greatest wisdom, oftentimes. For today's show, I mentioned we're looking forward to having Maryland State President, the President of the Maryland State Senate, Mike Miller. We also, something is going to happen in my life. You know, I have had what I think is quite a journey through this life, a whole lot of experiences around the world. One of the experiences that I have never had is speaking to a gentleman who is probably the most famous political prisoner in the world now. I've never spoken to someone who has been on death row for in excess of 30 years. And he will be calling us in about 10 minutes from prison. His name is Mumia Abu Jamal. The question was posted recently on our website. Innocent man, a cold-blooded killer. There are certainly those that maintain that, you know, he got the sentence that he deserved. And there's an overwhelming body of support for his release, a denunciation, a very thorough denunciation of a trial that put him in jail and put him on death row, where he served some 30 years before he was taken off of death row. And there continues to be a hue and cry around the world and denunciation of the trial that put him in jail, the evidence that was tainted, the jury that was biased, the judge that was racist. So we will hear from the man himself, Mumia Abu Jamal. And folks, in the second hour, we are going to address a scourge that has ravished this country for a very long time now, and that is a scourge of drugs and addiction, various substance afflictions. And I will be having on, calling from St. Louis, a gentleman by the name of Oval Miller, who is one of the foremost practitioners of healing for those who have been victimized, who have endured substance abuse, any kinds of addiction. This man was a former addict himself, a former heroin addict himself, who went through a treatment program more than 30 years ago. Came out of that treatment program. I'll let him describe the depths, the absolute depths of his affliction. And he came out of that. He got himself healed, and he formed an organization and an operation in St. Louis called BASIC, BASIC. That stands for Black Alcohol Substance Intake Center. And he treats the addictions in a culturally specific way. Well, he's coming on and he's going to help us make sense out of something that I saw as quite a tragedy last Friday night on the Oprah Winfrey Network on Iyanla Vanzant's show. And that's the one that has had social media buzz, where she on her program, Miss Vanzant on her program, Fix My Life, had DMX. And there is a raging debate about whether DMX was helped in that program or whether he was exploited in that program. And we want to deal with that. And to do so, Oval Miller, the expert, will try to put in context and perspective for us what it takes to heal those who are so terribly broken. Also, to keep it relevant, Tia Brown, that's Tia Brown from Jet Magazine. She did an online interview, an explosive online interview with DMX, where he showed extreme hostility and said that he felt a sense of betrayal by Iyanla Vanzant. And so she was up close and personal with DMX after the interview. And also, we're going to have on Dominic Natti. Dominic is DMX's manager. I do want you all that are listening on 1480 AM and watching around the world to understand and to appreciate that I have Tia Brown on. We're going to talk about DMX. DMX's manager is going to be on. And I certainly extended the courtesy to Iyanla and her manager to come on to give their perspective about what happened, what they did, why they did what they did, and to explain, to help answer the question, was he helped, hurt, exploited, or otherwise? And they were not able to make it. But in the spirit of fairness and balance, they certainly were invited. Now that's the second hour, so it's going to be action-packed, full of information, and we'll try to make some sense out of all that happened and that didn't happen, the right, wrong, and otherwise of that situation. And in the third hour, April is the month that one of the greatest music legends of all time was born, and he also died in the month of April. And that is Marvin Gaye. And we're going to do a tribute to Marvin Gaye and to the music makers of Washington, D.C. And in order to do that, we'll have in studio with us Herb Fame from Peaches and Herb, Skip Mahoney from Skip Mahoney and the Casuals. Mark Greene from The Moments. And if I try to sing, y'all just throw me off the radio. So I ain't even going to try to say, close your eyes, take a good look. I ain't going to try to do that. Or Skip Mahoney and Mark Greene and Sandra Bears. So we have an action-packed show for you. Thomas Mike Miller, president of the Maryland Senate, just walked in. He and his compadres, I should say, just passed the stiffest gun law in the country. But before we go to Mike, we're going to, is Mumia on the line? Do we have a Mumia on the line? Yes. Mumia Abu Jamal, are you there? While we're waiting for Mumia, I want y'all to know that Mike Miller came in and we started talking about Marvin Gaye. Mike started doing the two-step. He was doing some hand dancing. He was cutting the rug in here, and there ain't even no rug on the floor. So we can't wait to get Mike on these microphones here. I've told you on any number of occasions, this is live radio, and live radio where right now we have Mumia Abu Jamal. Let me get the cell phone here, please. I want to welcome you to the Rock Newman Show. I know that, you go through some challenges trying to do these kind of interviews, and we certainly appreciate you coming on here with us this morning. Mumia, how are you?
Fair to middling is something I always say, and it's about the truth. How are you, brother? I
am good, and I want to jump right to this because I know that we have to be very conscious of time here. You know, let's just go right to the middle of this here. There are many people around the world who know of your plight. Streets have been named after you in France, and world figures have supported the cause for your freedom. Obviously, there are still people who maintain that you got what you deserve, but certainly there are people around the world that have supported the effort for you to get a new trial, have denounced the trial. So let me ask you, you were convicted by an all-white jury. There are witnesses who testified against you. They have all since recanted their testimony. Now, the next guest we have on coming in here is Mike Miller, who is a great defense attorney. So I'll even talk to him a little bit about that. You were sentenced to death by a judge, Albert Sabo, who has sentenced more men to death row than any other judge in the country. And since your 1981 arrest, a federal grand jury investigation has made corruption in the Philadelphia Police Department of over 400 police officers being convicted of felonies, and yet the Supreme Court refused to hear your case. You still sit in a jail. What would it take for you to gain a new trial and to win your freedom?
I think nothing short of a movement, a real movement, a deep movement, a broad movement, because movements create change. You mentioned the Honorable, quote-unquote, Albert F. Sabo. Albert F. Sabo said, previous to the actual trial beginning, this is at pretrial hearings, quote, unquote, I'm going to help them fry the nigger. Now, some people have heard that or read that and said, well, it can't be true. The fact of the matter is that that statement came from a court reporter who was sitting in the office with him. Now, court reporters are the kind of people who sit in courtrooms and translate whatever they hear into transcripts. They're professional people who listen to other people speak, and they know how to record it. Now, you think a court reporter, a sworn court reporter, who works for the court system, right, would say she heard that if it were not so? And I later learned, I never met the woman, but I read her affidavit, and my lawyers did talk to her. She was married to a peace officer. And so, it did not come out of the blue. Yeah. When we found out about it, we filed it. But that's just to give you a snapshot.
Yeah, certainly if that is certainly if that is true, that speaks to an attitude and a hostile and what many would say unfair climate. Let me ask you, you're arguably the most famous political prisoner in the world. Could you share some of the names of others in the largest prison system in the world who are in sort of your same circumstances?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention a group who we call the Move 9, which is really 8 people now, members of the Move organization who've been in prison since August 8th, 1978. These are brothers and sisters of the Move organization, the same organization that was bombed by the city of Philadelphia and the federal government May 13th, 1985. These brothers and sisters were convicted on a false charge of third-degree murder, killing a police officer who attacked their home and was shot by one of their own, that is, a police department. These people were sentenced to 30 to 100 years. 30 to 100 years. So if you do the math, then it's about 34, 35 years since 1978. They are still in prison.
Yeah.
And those brothers and sisters, you know, they have parole hearings every year or so, but it's BS, frankly.
Mumia, if I can say this again, and I want to kind of address this to folks who are like, his heads have snapped around and said, man, I never really heard anything about this. You were accused of killing a Philadelphia police officer by the name of Faulkner. You were accused of shooting that gentleman in the back. That's what you were accused of. Now, you were on, self-admittedly, you were on the scene that night. Now, just quickly, there was a gentleman who most people feel was much more likely to have committed the crime than you, and that was a gentleman by the name of Freeman, who was in the car with your brother that the police officers had accosted. Now, I just said what you were accused of. Can you take us to that night and tell us what happened?
Well, I didn't hear part of your question because this tape came over.
Yeah.
So I heard the beginning of it, and I didn't hear the end of it. I'm sorry.
The end. What I was saying at the end was there are a lot of folks who think that there was someone in the car with your brother who was more likely to have been the murderer than you were. You were accused, again, of shooting the police officer in the back. You were on the scene that night. Can you take us to that night and tell us what happened?
I can tell you that I was arrested, I was beaten, and there was no fingerprints to tie me to a weapon that they said was a murder weapon. I can tell you that there were a lot more people on that street than the police reported, and I can tell you that scientific tests of that scene have proven beyond cavil that the argument put forth by the Commonwealth is impossible. It did not happen, and it could not happen the way they described. I can tell you that many of the people who were quote-unquote witnesses that night have since been described by other witnesses as not being there at the scene, that deals were made. These are people who I did not know. These are people who have no reason to help me out, but these are people who, over the course of time, have come out and say that what was reported was not true. There was a woman named Veronica Jones. I didn't know her from a can of beans. She was arrested, charged with committing some crime, I forget, robbery or something like that. They told her they would drop her charges if she came forward and fingered me. She got on the stand, and she lied. And she came back years later at our PCRA hearing in Philadelphia, again in front of the Honorable Judge Sabo. And she changed her story and said, she told the story about being forced to testify, about being threatened with losing her children, with going to jail for like 15 years.
This call is from the State Correctional Institution at Mahanoy. And is
folks, this is live radio, and that's a recording at the prison.
Veronica was arrested on the stand. On the stand. By police from Camden in New Jersey.
Yes.
Now, understand she's arrested in the city of Philadelphia, in a Philadelphia courtroom for something that happened 7 or 8 years before, so a statute of limitations is run. And when she was being taken off the stand, she said, I'm still not going to lie. I'm still not going to say my understanding is that there are other material witnesses who have recanted their testimony
against you. Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, we have tried to enter this into the court record. We have tried to file statements, affidavits, reports. Those reports have not been addressed by any court so far. So, and we continue to fight, of course, legally. But my point to you is that if they don't address it, we can't make them address it. We can only fight, on the legal ground that we have.
I understand. Let me ask you this, because I find this fascinating, this piece of information fascinating. A few years later, after your conviction, the other gentleman who was on the scene that night, and as you said, there were several people that were there, but there was a gentleman in the car with your brother. It seems to be a day or a couple of days after the MOVE members had the bomb dropped on their compound, and 40, it was a massive murder scene in Philadelphia, that this gentleman who was in the car with your brother was found, am I correct in understanding that he was found dead and handcuffed, and there is a body of thought, at least, that the Philadelphia Police Department may have been linked to his murder? Now, I don't see anything, and I want to say I don't see anything where there is proof to that, but I just want to bring it up and get your thoughts on it.
Well, all I know is what I've read in reports. I remember first reading this in a newspaper. There is a report that this happened several days after the bombing, that is May 13th, 1985. He was found either in a trash bin or near a trash bin. There was evidence that his hands were bound. I forget the specific cause of death, but the point is, this was a guy who had grown up with us, had grown up in our neighborhood in the projects in North Philly. I've known him all of my life. We grew up together, and he later kind of changed his life. He became a photographer for a major Philadelphia newspaper. He had changed his life. He had become a working stiff in many ways.
Okay, it's so very much to examine. Tell us about this. Tell the listening audience about this. You have a documentary film that is coming out, and it's called Long Distance Revolutionary. Tell us about that documentary, please, what you hope to accomplish with it.
Well, this is the work of a filmmaker named Steve Vittoria, a filmmaker and a writer, actually. It's really a compilation of interviews with people that I've met over the years, that I've known for many years, of my background in journalism, radio, reporting, and writing for the Black Panther newspaper when I was a teenager. Of course, I've never seen the documentary. I've, of course, read about it and read scripts and stuff like that. But I would like to see it one day in freedom. But right now, I am told that it is doing very well all across the country. And I believe soon we'll be in the city of Philadelphia.
Mumia, there is so very much to talk about. Something that fascinates me in almost a morbid way. Someone who suffers from claustrophobia. You were on death row. And my understanding is that you spent nearly 30 years in solitary confinement. I know it would probably take a year to explain that, but in the last 2 minutes that we have here, can you give us a snapshot of that kind of existence for a human being?
Well, imagine living in your bathroom, I always say, but with bars around, and you can't leave for 20 hours, sometimes 22 hours or 24 hours a day, with a date to die. That's what death row is about. But when you speak about solitary confinement, I am reminded that as we speak, men in California, in their shoes or special housing units, are living in solitary confinement, and it has been so torturous for them
You
that
have 60 seconds remaining.
many have committed suicide. They have created a hunger strike to try to bring attention to the living conditions of men in solitary confinement in California. The United Nations has said that solitary confinement is a form of torture, and any length of detention over 7 days can crack people's minds. I've seen people go crazy. I mean, I've literally seen them do things that would blow your mind.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
You know, the fact that we have these solitary confinements is, I think, a crime against humanity.
Okay, I look forward to examining all sides of this issue in the future, and certainly want to invite you to come back on with us again. Thank you
Rob.
so very much for your time. Be well.
Pleasure is mine.
Okay. Folks, we're going to go to a very quick break. Thomas Mike Miller is in the house, cutting the rug from Southern Maryland. Clinton went to Surrattsville High School, the school that Gwen Park used to beat all the time. We'll be right back on the Rock Newman Show after these brief messages. Make a brief, producers. Make a brief, because we want to come back with Thomas Mike Miller.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show.
My baby drives a handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the Markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a handcuff.
Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
And then we'll get into some stuff.
Good God! What we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to The Rock Newman Show.
Folks, welcome back. It is April the 20th, 2013. We are blessed with another very beautiful day. Maybe every day should be Saturday. Maybe every day should be the Rock Newman Show, because every day that we have come in here to do our show, I said the same thing over and over and over like a broken record. It's a spectacularly beautiful day, but I've been nothing but serious the whole time and very candid the whole time. Speaking of candor, I told you we want to have the president of the Maryland Senate, and we could start so many places. Me talking to this man, we could talk. We could come right to the future, right to the present here, where Mike was very involved, extraordinarily instrumental in the state of Maryland passing some of the what is considered to be some of the best gun control laws in the country. We could come there, or we could go way, 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 way back when as a 14-year-old, I used to work for his grandfather at B.K. Miller, and his grandfather used to sell my father a whole bunch of big old sugar bags because my father was bootlegging out in the country of brand new. So we can go way back. But let's go, as they say in that song, let's go way back. Mike, part of what I like to do with personalities and leaders that come in like you, and folks, when I say leader, I said something earlier, Mike, that you might not have heard, but I do want you to hear what I said. And that was, you've been the president of the Maryland Senate for 26 years, and many folks say that you are singularly the most powerful politician in Maryland politics and maybe in Maryland political history. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm certainly not. There's the governor, there's the Speaker of the House, and there's myself. So I'm maybe 1/3 of the politics of the state of Maryland. I had a great honor 2 days ago. We had the First Lady, Michelle Obama, in Annapolis, and she was fantastic. She was talking about veterans getting back into society and transforming their lives, and it's a great thrill. The day before that, we had Vice President Biden in Baltimore talking about the gun laws and the failure of the Congress to act. So every day it's a living experience.
See, you just saw the humility come forth with President of the Maryland Senate, Mike Miller. If I can count, let's see, the governor has been the governor for like a few years, and this other guy's been around for a couple of years, and Mike's been on the scene for a whole lot longer. But we'll move on from there. Right. Mike, give my listening audience, do a favor here, and take it all the way back when your family first came to these shores, and kind of bring us up through, condense that history, but bring us through the Miller family legacy, which is a rich legacy.
Well, let me just say this. We're all products of immigrants. Some people came above the deck, some people came below the deck. My people came below the deck. Some of your family came here in chains. We're very honored to be here. I'm very honored to be in Southeast Washington. I used to walk these streets when I was a child. I used to walk across the Sousa Bridge. There was times I would cross the Sousa Bridge on the underpass. There was a little walkway underneath it, but you're not allowed to do that. You weren't supposed to do that then. But right. I used to go to the Easter Branch Boys Club on 17th Street, played ball at Anacostia Flats, the Monument Grounds. But before that, my people, all of our people, were tobacco farmers. And as you indicated, my grandfather would sell sugar. He would sell jars. And the farmers, like your like your relatives, they would grow corn, and somehow the corn would wind up in the jars and make a little corn whiskey. And there was nothing wrong with that in Southern Maryland.
Folks, this man speaks the truth that they did grow corn. They sold sugar some kind of way. It ended up in those jars. Right. And when the folks used to come to my house, it was $4 for a half a gallon. $4 for a half a gallon. They'd give me a $5 bill. I'd say, here, my daddy don't have no change, and I'd keep that extra dollar, Mike. Mike, so what drove you? I know that your history is, again, you went to Surrattsville High School. Right. You went on to the University of Maryland. You ended up getting your law degree. Right. What got you into politics?
I think history. I'm a historian. I read history every single day, every night. But I'm the oldest of 10 children. I'm the oldest of 10 children, and when you grow up the oldest of 10 children, you become a servant leader because you have to take care of the youngest. Your mom's in the bed and with your daddy, and the baby's crying, so you get up in the middle of the night, hit the baby bottles. Your mother doesn't have to get up in the middle of the night, and just you serve. I mean, I didn't know what hot water was till I went to college because my 6 sisters would use up all the hot water in the water tank. You know what I mean? And then I got to college and they couldn't get me out of the showers. I didn't know what hot water was.
I'm here to testify. It's the same way, same thing.
So you let the younger people have the hot water and get ready for school, and you get ready. So I mean, that's what helped me in politics. And then also working at B.K. Miller's store. I mean, I carried out, and the customer was always right. The customer was always right, and you had to take care of the people. You open the doors at 7 in the morning, you close them at 8 o'clock at night, and if somebody showed up at 8 o'clock at night and wanted a gallon of kerosene or a bushel of coal or a feed sack that looked like the feed sack that they bought the week before, you took care of them. You stayed there, and you missed whatever date you had. Yeah, to take care of the customer.
You know, he mentions B.K. Miller. I mentioned B.K. Miller working, for his grandfather. That certainly has that place out there on Old Branch Avenue in Clinton, Maryland, next to, right up from Surrattsville High School, but also from the Surratt's house that was named after Mary Surratt. Mary Surratt was the first woman hanged in the United States. They thought she was a part of the conspiracy. John Wilkes Booth, after shooting Abraham Lincoln, left the Ford Theater, made his way down to the Surrattsville area, and now she had a boarding house, and she gave him the horse, and that's part of the conspiracy. And whatever part I'm getting wrong, fill in the blanks for me.
Well, let me just tell you this. Bill Clinton is a very good friend of mine. I mean, a very good friend of mine. And so when my mother invited him to come to Clinton, Maryland, he agreed immediately. And we were trying to bring him to B.K. Miller's store, you know. And whatever Democrats are supposed to be against, we are for in Southern Maryland. Red meat, whiskey, you know, they Canadian Mist, Old Granddad, Keno, Bud Light, whatever. And they sent these 4 people from Arkansas to look at our store. And they said, this is not an appropriate place for the President of the United States. What else do you have in the town? Well, I couldn't take him to the American Legion because of Vietnam. Couldn't take him to St. John's Church because of the Catholic, because of the abortion issue. They said, what else do you have in the town? I said, we have a museum. So these 4 people from Arkansas said, that's perfect. What kind of a museum? I said, the Mary Surratt Museum. And they said, that's perfect. Who in the hell was Mary Surratt? I said, she was a lady who was hung for helping to assassinate the President of the United States. So anyway, they wanted to stay far away from that museum. But she was part of the conspiracy. She thought they were going to kidnap the president and exchange him for prisoners. And then Booth changed the plan at the last moment in Washington, D.C., assassinated the President of the United States. And, of course, she was caught up with it. And she was hung. But her son, who was involved in it, was tried by a civilian jury 2 years later, and he was acquitted.
Wow. And then, of course, they went further down and went to Dr. Roger Mudd's house, and Roger Mudd, operated on the knee.
You're okay with history, but Roger Mudd was a descendant. Samuel Mudd was the doctor.
That's right.
You're
That's
trying
right.
hard.
Roger Mudd, it would have been a little bit difficult for Roger Mudd to have worked on his leg because he was a reporter for CBS.
Right.
Samuel Mudd, right. Been by that house many times.
Right. I have.
Mike, I posted on Facebook this week, and I can get a little rowdy on Facebook.
I know you can.
But I posted that, yes, indeed, President Obama was correct. That this was a shameful week for Washington, D.C. That 90% of the population in the United States of America are in favor of comprehensive background checks. And 46 spineless, gutless senators voted against the bill for comprehensive background checks. One, I'd like to get your reaction to that, and then please take us through the process where you led a successful bill through the ranks to have one of the most comprehensive gun control laws in the country.
Well, first of all, let me just say this.
Forget that sign right there because we're going to go past our normal break.
We also banned the death penalty in the state of Maryland. So,
yes.
so the death penalty is gone in the state of Maryland. But in terms of background checks, that's the law in Maryland right now. And if you're going to buy a handgun, no matter who you are, what you are, they're going to check right now in terms of whether or not you have a criminal record. If you have a criminal record where you can get a lengthy period of time in your past, you're not going to be able to buy a handgun. So what this bill does is something else. This bill says if you're going to buy a handgun in the state of Maryland, you're going to have to give your fingerprints to the police. In other words, this is to stop straw purchasers from the guys giving to the girls. Say, girl, you go buy me a handgun and give your name and address, and then give it to me later on. And this is to stop the straw purchasing. So it's and also we don't need these drums, these clips with 30 bullets or 50 bullets. We don't need cop killer bullets. But what it doesn't apply to shotguns, it doesn't apply to rifles. But in the future, if you want to buy handguns, you're going to have to give your fingerprints, and you cannot buy these type of guns with grenade launchers on them. You can't buy them with these drums with 30 and 50. Hunters don't need that type of gun.
Mike, I just can't in my attempt to try to be objective, I cannot figure out a legitimate rationale by those that opposed what I think you should get a great deal of credit for shepherding through the process. I'm not smart enough to figure out what their legitimate rationale would be. Can you share with me if there anybody with credibility on the other side that's making an argument that you could even possibly understand? What is their best rationale?
There is no sane rationale from learned people. I mean, Europe has done away with this stuff. We're going to get there eventually, but it's a frontier mentality. Our nation's relatively new in terms of the world civilization. They use guns fighting against the British. We fought it against themselves, and it's a means of. It should be a means of protection, but it's a means of harassment, and it's a means of committing crimes. And there are reasons for legitimate gun owners. I'm a historian. I have some antique guns. I collect them, but at the same time, they're not weapons to hurt people. But these people right now, the mentality of these carry laws in the South is insanity. Washington, D.C. was carved from Maryland in 1791. I love Washington, D.C. It's part of our history, your history, my history, everybody's history. But at the same time, we don't need guns in Washington, D.C. like we don't need guns in Prince George's County in the state of Maryland. If people want to collect them, if people, they're legitimate hunters, that's fine, but we don't need them for protection. The problem is we have a problem with drugs in Washington, D.C. and Maryland, particularly Prince George's County. And every drug dealer has one, and people buying them have guns too, and so they're on the streets, and innocent people get killed.
Innocent people get killed. Innocent people get killed. Innocent people get killed. Lots of innocent people get killed when you have those absurdly obscene, violent, the magazines that carry these multiple rounds are simply an instrument to allow mass murder. And there's what on God's earth, what is the need for it? There is no need. There is a need for us to take a quick break here. We're going to do so and come back on the Rock Newman Show at 1480 a.m. and live streamed around the world at www.rocknewmanshow.com. Be back with Mike Miller wrapping up this hour in just a moment. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
The Rock Newman Show will be back after this.
Pohanka Acura's huge March sales event is going on now. Get one of the new 2013 TLs for as low as $199 per month, or get the brand new 2013 MDX for only $254 a month. Come find out why price and selection have made Pohanka the world's largest.
Take Action News with David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on We Act Radio, 1480 AM and weactradio.com.
Well, for me, it's always been, you report the facts. You report like hell, let the chips fall where they may. And the truth ultimately is what's going to sort of help our society and help all of us. I don't think progressives want a thumb on the scale on the facts. They just want the facts out there. You let the facts out, and progressives will tell you, we're going to win 70% of the time. You may quibble with the percentages or whatnot, but I think that's just sort of what progressives are looking for, and I think that's where this all sort of meshes with my interest as a journalist. And my interest as a journalist is report the facts. Here's what's going on. Here's what the facts say. Here's what history says. Here are the lessons we know we have learned. And let people draw their own conclusions. And I think what's so unfortunate right now in the world of broadcast media is I do think that a lot of conservative radio, certainly conservative television, they're not interested in facts. And that's ultimately where I think conservative media is going to have its downfalls, that Americans are hungry. They're just hungry for basic information, hungry for basic facts. You report like hell, you let the chips fall where they may. I think it's natural for all of us who care, who are passionate about politics, who feel like we have a sense about the difference between right and wrong. I think it's okay to let that be part of your coverage. It's important for all of us as broadcasters and journalists. In this day and age, we have to be authentic. You can't be the person who's up in the ivory tower that comes down and tells people, now you must eat your peas. No, it's all about, we all have personalities, and I think it's being aware sometimes of our own bias, but also being open to the idea that sometimes we're wrong, but we have a dialogue, and we have a passionate dialogue, and we care about this country, we care about this community, and I think that sort of passion is what carries us through.
Hear more from David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on Take Action News, on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
The prodigal son of the DMV is back. Ladies and gentlemen, show your love for Rock Newman on the Rock Newman Show. The conversation that some people just don't care to have. We now rejoin the discussion on the Rock Newman Show.
The David Schuster Show is after the Rock Newman Show. Make sure that you pay attention. David Schuster has a great program coming up for you also. I am Rock Newman, and I'm in studio with Maryland State Senate President Mike Miller. As I told you earlier, we're going to have a dynamic second hour with Oval Miller, Tia Brown, and Dominic Nattis talking about the DMX interview that exploded on the Oprah Winfrey Network last Friday with Iyanla Vanzant. We're going to talk about the scourge of drugs, how to really help people, and whether or not, I want to get your thoughts on whether or not DMX was helped or whether or not DMX was exploited. And something near and dear to Mike Miller's heart is music, like it is mine. And in that third hour coming up is going to be Herb Fame from Peaches and Herb, Skip Mahoney from Skip Mahoney and the Casuals, Mark Greene from The Moments, and we're going to be playing some of their music. But right now we're going to come back to Mike Miller. You know, Mike, it's a tough game. Politics is a very tough game. And oftentimes you hear politicians probably more criticized than they are applauded. I talked about something that is very relevant to our society today, and that's gun control. Let me ask you, I'm continuing to hear reports about the Maryland schools being ranked near the top or at the top of the educational systems in the country. Talk to us about that.
Well, this is for 5 years in a row. We've been number one in the United States. And it takes a commitment on the part of elected officials, because what you need to do, you pay for what you get. And what we did was we made a commitment to have the best schools, lower classroom size, pay good teacher salaries with pensions, good pensions for the teachers, at the same time getting the disruptive students out of the classroom, and with appropriate testing. And it's paid big dividends, but you have to pay for this. And so it's as a consequence, we're a very wealthy state. Maryland is the wealthiest state in the union, largely because it surrounds Washington, D.C. and defense contractors and what have you. But at the same time, we're a relatively high tax state. So we pay bucks for our educational system, and we now have more doctorate degrees in Maryland than any other state in the union. We have more BA. We have the highest level of number of college degrees of any state in the union, and so we're poised right now for this. When as the economy turns to this new economy, this knowledge-based economy. But at the same time, in the South and other places where they don't have that commitment to education, they don't pay for it. They don't reduce teacher sizes. My sister taught at Samuel Chase Elementary School in Prince George's County for 30 years. She never had less than 35 students in a classroom. That's wrong. You can't teach a classroom like that. And so now I was there years ago, and they had 22 students in a classroom, and things are getting better in Prince George's County and in Maryland.
You know, Mike, when I worked for your grandfather, it was some tough work, man.
Right.
We were lifting 90-pound bags.
100-pound bags.
Well, you know what? I think they probably told us 90 just to psych us out. But we're lifting those big bags of concrete. Something that I just learned there was you guys approach things in a very common sense. You approach life with a very common sense attitude. And as you said, the customer was always right. So you had a real people mentality example growing up. what are some of the things? I mean, because again, B.K. Miller was a legendary figure.
Right.
What's some of the most important things you learned from that legend?
Well, the funny thing is, I came home one day and I'd been carrying bags of sheep manure. I hope your listeners understand what that is. I was carrying bags of sheep manure, and I told my mother, I said, Mother, I got to get out of this business. I mean, I had a white T-shirt and an apron, and I was just covered with sheep manure. The bags would break and everything, and she said, just stick with it, then stick with it. And later on in life, when I got involved in politics, she said, that was pretty good training for you carrying the sheep manure. But some of the things you learn in life, you got to get up in the morning and go to work. And you got to be dressed, and you got to have a smile on your face. And if you're not happy, you've got to be able to fake it until you can make it. It's just because you got to serve the customer, and no matter how obnoxious or rude they can be, they slam the door, they do this. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. We'll take care of it. And you find a way to take care of it. It's not a black issue or a white issue. It's a green issue. It's about money. And it's about taking care of the people. And that's kind of what politics is all about as well.
Mike, when you say taking care of people, one of the things we're talking about your storied political career here, what folks don't, some people may not know that, your sort of other job, if you will, has been that of a lawyer, of a defense attorney. We don't have a lot of time, but one of the things I'd like to examine with you is kind of have you to search your mind quickly and see whether or not you can give us an example or two of your most interesting, bizarre, crazy defenses. Because folks that might not know about Brandywine, Surrattsville, Clinton, Fairmont Heights, and all of those areas, there's certainly a time if you got in trouble, the one thing you wanted to do was call Thomas Mike Miller. Tell us about a couple of your most interesting representations.
Well, rather than go, I'll just tell you this week, a fellow was charged with burglary in Prince George's County, and his father brought him in to see me, and in fact he was a distant cousin of yours. As a matter of fact, his last name was Proctor, and I've known the family for generations, for a long, long time, and he says, look, I'm innocent. I'm totally innocent. The father says, my boy says he's innocent. I mean, meanwhile, he'd been in jail for 3 days. He had to put up $5,000 worth of a bond to get him out. And the only evidence that they had against him was a friend of his, a girl used to talk to a friend of his and said that was the person that was involved in the burglary. And so I said, well, I said, if he's innocent, we'll find him and make sure he's not guilty. And so we sent in for the discovery for the state's attorney, and the girl had testified that the burglar was 5'7" tall and had a cross on his cheek. And mind you, this young man who came in to see me was 6'2", a darker complected fellow, and had no cross on his cheek. And a little bit of police work would have uncovered that, but praise the Lord, the homeowner had a video in his house, and so when I got to discovery, I saw the video and put it on, and we saw the burglar, and it didn't look a thing like this young man. Now, this young man had served time in jail. He had to put up a $5,000 bond, and any bit of little legwork would have cleared this young man. And so I called up the prosecutor. I said, look, you've got an innocent person here. He said, well, we'll have to try the case anyway. I try the case. I said, son, I'm going to have your ass. I'm going to have your job. I mean, I call up Alston Brooks, the state's attorney, and said, this man is innocent. He needs to be taken care of immediately. And they're going to do that. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens on a regular basis, and it's sloppy police work.
Have you? This might be always a difficult question for a defense attorney. Have you gone to court and walked someone out of the court as a free man, knowing that they were guilty?
Yes, but at the same time. Absolutely. I mean, but you make sure, it's not your job to prove yourself innocent. It's the state's job to prove yourself guilty. The state has to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, to a moral certainty. And so if you got somebody and it's the state's job, and the guy says, look, this is what happened, so the state doesn't put their case on. And Thomas Jefferson and these founders of our society said it's better than that guilty people go free rather than an innocent person goes to jail and is persecuted for a crime that he or she did not commit.
Mike, storied political history, storied legal history. I'd like for you to share with us, at some point, you know, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, we all got to go, we must. There's going to be a tombstone, a big old one for Thomas Mike Miller.
Right.
Tell us how you'd like to be remembered, what you might want on that tombstone if you had just somebody writing it real pretty. What would you want on there?
Well, I know where it's going to be. It's not going to be a tombstone. It's going to be a crypt. It's going to have my name on it, and that's it. Born and died, and I'll be buried next to my mother. I mean, my mother and father are going to be there, and my wife and I are going to be side by side. But he did the best he could. Honestly, that's all he needed. He did the best he could. He tried hard. I'm just honored to serve. Honestly, I feel like you do. This is my hometown. Washington, D.C. is my hometown. And I got a story. Can I tell a story real quick?
Tell a story real quick.
Okay.
I mean, it don't have to be that quick, man.
Albert
This is my show.
Albert Einstein went to heaven. Albert Einstein went to heaven. And St. Peter met him at the pearly gate. And he says, take over for me. The first guy comes up and says, what's your IQ? He says, 150. Albert Einstein says, I want to talk to you about the theory of relativity. Second guy comes up. He says, what's your IQ? He says, what's your IQ? He says, 200. He says, I need to talk to you about plutonium. Third guy comes up. Albert Einstein says, what's your IQ? He says, 58. Albert Einstein looks at him and says, how about them Dallas Cowboys?
I got one about the pearly gates also. Well, now, there was no, I won't tell that story. I won't tell that story over these.
I'm a Redskin fan, folks.
Of these public airways. Folks, this hour went by too fast. Mike Miller, you're too great, man. You deserve a whole lot of credit for all the good that you do. None of us, we all fall short of the glory. But I'm going to tell you something, man, as a politician, as someone who gets something done, as someone who has led the charge for a lot of good things in the state of Maryland, you deserve a lot of credit. Hey, are we going to get a casino here? Are we going to get a casino on the shores of the Potomac River?
Right next to Washington, D.C., right across from Alexandria. It's going to be thousands of jobs. It's going to be live in it. It's going to be MGM right here. It's going to be the best in the world right here in Prince George's County, immediately adjacent to Washington, D.C., and everybody's going to have a great time.
They're one of our sponsors. I couldn't have said it better myself. Mike Miller, thank you so much for being on the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back after these important messages.
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show.
The sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry's soul food. What we need. Soul food.
Giving you the real on everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
I speak from Pennsylvania's death row.
A bright, shiny, highly mechanized hell.
Mumia Abu Jamal is one of the lost souls of the revolution.
And they're trying to figure out how to shut him down entirely.
They have moved heaven and earth to stop his voice being heard in the United States.
When you talk about groups that are maligned and slurred as terrorists in the major media, they're really small fry. They're retail terrorists. Wholesale terrorists are the United States government.
whole problem is really the blacks. The key is to devise a system that recognizes this while not appearing to.
On the move, this is Mumia Abu Jamal.
Hi, I'm Tom Morello. Some call me the Night Watchman. And the case of Mumia Abu Jamal is at a crucial stage. Please go to freemumia.com to find out more information about how you can help Mumia Abu Jamal and other political prisoners. Night Watchman out.
This is Margaret Flowers.
And I'm Kevin Zeese. Join us every Monday morning, 11 a.m. for Clearing the Fog.
Speaking truth to expose the forces of greed.
Start the week with your eyes open.
The fog.
The forces of greed that spin news stories for the benefit of the 1%.
Each week, we feature guests who are working to expose these truths and offer real solutions to the current crises we face.
Knowledge is power, and with knowledge, you will be empowered to act to shift the power to the people.
Monday mornings at 11 a.m. on weactradio.com or 1480 a.m.
Hey, this is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've got, and based on the sale price of the car you choose, I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to TimPohankaForThePeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Hi, Grandpa. We're in Kingman. I love you. Tomorrow I'm on school on Monday. I love you. Happy New Year.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to the Rock Newman Show.
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. Folks, this segment here, we're gonna be talking about the ravages of addiction, affliction, the ravages of drugs and alcohol and other substances that have torn so many communities apart. Fortunately, we were able to corral one of the foremost experts on this planet in dealing with addictions, drug abuse, alcohol abuse. This is a gentleman from St. Louis, Missouri. He founded and remains as executive director of BASIC, B-A-S-I-C. That stands for Black Alcohol Substance Intake Center. And today, this weekend, happens to be the 30th anniversary of the finding of this facility that I have acute personal awareness of and knowledge of. How? Because in my family and in my circle of friends and in the circle of individuals that I've represented in my life, many have succumbed to the scourge of alcohol or drug abuse. And whenever it has gotten to a point where you see that a friend, a family member, someone that you represent has gotten so far out of control that they need desperately to be treated and to have their affliction addressed and an attempt to be helped, the man on the line, in my humble opinion, is the best in the world. His name is Oval Miller. Oval Miller, happy 30th anniversary and welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you so very much, Rock. I really appreciate it. You know I'm riding a big high from last night. We had about.
I thought you was clean, Oval. You done got high again?
I'm high on recovery. We had about 700 people at the office yesterday in the auditorium, and renewed a lot of acquaintances over the last 30 years. It was just a real good feeling to see the men and women coming in, and they had their children and they were clean, and it just really felt blessed and really fortunate that God had used me in the way He has over the last 30 years.
Oval. I have had on these. This is our 8th show, and I've had some of the top personalities in the world on, from the world of sports, from the world of politics, from the world of finance, entertainment. Dr. Ben Carson from Johns Hopkins University. But I want to tell you something. When I shared with some of the individuals who have come to your program and gone through your program and gotten their lives together from a very, very shattered and low place, none of those other names, whether it was Pete Rose or whoever it might have been, whatever celebrity of sort that it might have been, these individuals that have come through your program are sitting right now riveted to their computers. We broadcast here on 1480 AM in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. It goes into Maryland and Virginia. But all around the world, this program can be seen and heard. And Oval, I want to tell you that some of your former clients who love you dearly are listening in, man. And again, I want to thank you for coming on. And Oval, here's what I'd like to do, because we're going to get into a very serious subject after we go to the break. But what I'd like to do is I'd like for you to share your story. You weren't always the man that was fixing the problem. You were a man that needed your problem fixed. Certainly you've been very candid about it to people. You've been transparent. And I would like for you to share your journey through your addiction and how you got started in helping others heal.
Yeah, no problem at all, Rock. One of the things is that it's all part of the process that I had to go through with. I was addicted to heroin for over 14 years. I was a mainline heroin user.
What does that mean, mainline heroin use?
Intravenous, using a hypodermic needle, injecting heroin into the veins. We called it taking it to the mark. It was, someone asked me once, how did I get involved with it? And I told them I got involved with it by experimenting. And the first time I used the drug, I was on a college campus in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, at the A.M.N. College, in school. And someone passed the board around and said, "Hey, why don't you try this?" I said, "Man, I don't want to be no junkie." And the guy said, "Man, only weak-minded people end up to be junkies. You're a self-made man. One time's not going to hurt you." Well, after that first time, it took me 14 years to get off of it. 14 years, because the drug numbed out those insecurities and feelings of self-image that I was having a problem with coming up in an alcoholic home. My father was an alcoholic. And, that relationship was tattered and shattered. And then when I used the drug, I didn't feel that anymore. It numbed it out. It didn't make it go away. It just numbed it out. And so every day it got to a point that the feeling was rising every single day, and the more and more drugs I needed to corral it. And so it took me to places I can't even begin to explain. The people who had it know what I'm saying. We're not talking about.
You know what? You say it took you to places that you can't even explain. And I'm going to say that we have quite an informed and adult audience here, and even those that might be listening who are younger I'm going to just take it for granted got good adult supervision. Give us an example or two of the depths of which you plunged.
Well, watching people's lives taken, being involved when you see me personally not committing that type of crime, but being there on the scene when it was committed, being involved with children in the room, hungry, lacking nurturing, and their parents and I sitting there getting high, involved with robberies and armed robberies, and all sorts of crimes to feed this habit. This habit, at one time, I had a $200 a day habit. When you start looking at it, that's $200 a day, 7 days a week. You're talking about $5,600 a month that you just had to feed the habit just so you could get up in the morning and feel normal.
And as I remember the story, sort of where your rock bottom was, you had some trucks. You had some trucks that you were a functioning drug addict.
In the early part of it, I was a functioning addict because I was always creative and coming with different ideas, and I was a road driver. And so I used to pull dynamite back and forth cross country under the influence of heroin, blacked out in some cases. Some cases we would have 40,000 pounds of dynamite, high explosive, liquid oxygen, liquid nitrogen on the road. I was taking pills to stay awake and using heroin to calm myself down. Blacked out across entire states, not even remembering driving across them. That's that insanity. Not being a father to my children, totally separated from my children. People not knowing where I was, involved with transporting drugs back and forth across the border. It was carrying me in such a fast pace that I didn't have time to think about dying. No plans for tomorrow, no future plans, and then it took it all away because the drugs, you can't keep up with the drugs. The need for it, the drive for it, in and out of jails in 5 different states, and eventually ended up sleeping in a garage in Los Angeles, California, in Watts, and being okay with that. The day of my intervention came on New Year's Day in 1981, when the guy who owned the garage put me out of the garage. And I walked to the corner of El Segundo and Wilmington, the Chevron station. I never will forget it. And I stood down the corner and said, what a way to start the New Year's off. I just got kicked out of a garage. How much farther down will I have to go?
How low can you go?
That's right. Standing right there on that corner.
And then what happened, though?
Well, I made a phone call back to Little Rock, Arkansas, where my parents were, and told them that I was wanting to make some changes. They had heard the story several times over and over again. And so my sister, who was a Mercy sister at the time, she was a nun in the Mercy convent, they had a hospital here in St. Louis. And they sent me a ticket and $20 to come to St. Louis. Well, I went and got the ticket, picked the $20 up, and immediately went and got high with it. But I kept the ticket. A couple of days later, I went to jail again, got out of jail, and this time I was standing on the corner of Vernon and Figueroa in L.A., and I decided that my life had to change. How was I going to get out? And I reached back in my pocket, and the ticket was there, Rock. I took the ticket, got on the bus, went downtown to the bus station, put the ticket up in the counter, and asked the lady, could I change the destination on the ticket and go to Little Rock? I didn't want to go to St. Louis. And she looked at me and said, I'm sorry, ticket can't be changed to cashed in, destination St. Louis. I sit down, Rock. It felt like somebody had hit me with a brick. I was forced to have to leave there, and it was the only thing in the world that I could think about that was going to save me. But I still didn't blame the drugs. It was the city. It was the people. It was always somebody else's fault. I blamed everything but the fact that I had succumbed to this drug. It took me 52 hours on that bus to ride from Los Angeles, California to St. Louis, Missouri. Now, Rock, you know I'm 6'6" tall. Those buses are built for short people.
Right. So 52 hours. That long, lanky frame.
That long, lanky frame, 52 hours crunched up in this seat. Stinking, sweating, the drugs coming out of me, going through withdrawal for 52 hours. So when I got here to St. Louis, my sister met me at the bus station and told me that she needed me to trust the people that were here, that my life could change, and that God had saved me for a reason. And, you know, I hadn't trusted anybody in 14, 15 years. But she had asked. This was my younger sister. And so when I went into this treatment program, I started to give myself a chance, start looking at things differently. While I was there, I met all of these rich people, because I was the only African-American in the center. And treatment at that center was $20,000 per episode. I didn't have a dime, so somebody was sponsoring it for me. And I met all these rich people that were there, and they had the same problem. They were drug addiction. You know, I knew why. I felt I knew why I was a drug addict, because I was poor, black, didn't have second class, and all the cards had been dealt against me. But now people who had money, had resources, they were there too. And some of them had more problems, appeared to be as devastating or more devastating than mine. And so it was during that course of treatment that I began to understand that my life was worth saving. While I was there, I met a very wealthy person, wealthy man. He was a Roman Catholic priest. And he asked me, what did I want to do with my sobriety? That I needed to be in a position to give it back. And I told him that I felt that if I could deliver this message of hope back to my own people, they would respond to it the way I responded to it. And he was the one that gave me my opportunity with the seed money to open a program up in 1983 in St. Louis, Missouri, that is still flourishing today, 30 years later.
30 years later. Once again, I want to say happy anniversary to you. I'm going to ask you to hold on.
Yes.
This is the Rock Newman Show. The telephone number to be involved in this conversation is 202-889-9797. I started off by saying y'all going to make me lose my mind up in here, because we're going to come back with Orville Miller, one of the foremost experts on drug addiction in the world, and talk to people who are close to DMX, because he was involved in what I think was quite a tragic interaction on the Oprah Winfrey Network. And there's a big question about whether or not he was helped or whether or not he was exploited. We want to hear what you have to say. What do you care about on the Rock Newman Show at We Act Radio?
Y'all gon' make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me go all out. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me act a fool. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me lose my cool. Up in here, up in here. If I got to bring it to you cowards, then it's gonna be quick. Alright, oh, you made have been in jail before? Suck my dick.
We'll find out when the discussion continues after this.
Ain't that some shit? And niggas remind me of a strip club.
You're listening to We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Visit us online at weactradio.com.
Good God! I got to ask you, what we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. What we need? Soul Food. Henry Soul Food.
Giving you the real on everything. everything from politics, sports, and common everyday life issues. This is The Rock Newman Show.
My baby drives a pro-handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the Markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a pro-handcuff.
Friends, David Schuster here, and all of us at We Act Radio are so proud of our neighbors here in Southeast D.C., especially one of our partners, the Ark. The Ark is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. It's the home to some of Washington's best, including the Washington Ballet, the Levine School of Music, Boys and Girls Club, and the Children's Health Project. All provide a number of programs and services within the very same facility. The Ark is also home to the Ark Theater, the only theater east of the river, which hosts a variety of dance, music, and theatrical shows each year. Almost everything you could want is at the Ark, so stop by and see them. The Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue in Southeast. For more information, visit the Ark's website, www.thearkdc.org, or call 202-889-5901. The Ark, part of Southeast D.C.
Who's my mind?
Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me go all out. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me act a fool. Up in here, up in here.
Folks, of course, that's the dynamic voice of DMX. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here, man. There was a point when that was much more than a song. It was a rallying cry. It was like an anthem. One of the DMX burst on the scene, and I mean, just took it over. He took over the hip hop scene. He took over the rap world. He immediately his charisma, his talent, his just off the charts personality found him in movies and the like. Online with us from St. Louis is one of the foremost drug rehabilitation experts in the world. His name is Oval Miller. He just gave you a full description of him walking through the desert of life, suffering the ravages of heroin addiction. And he stopped when we went to break. He had just told us that he had got the seed money to develop a program that he wanted to give back to his people. He wanted to give back to the community. He had suffered badly in the wilderness for more than 14 years. Oval, I have two other people on the line right now, but what I want to do just quickly before I go to Tia Brown and Dominique Nati is I would like to have you to give us a brief description. And it's almost unfair for me to do this, as great as your program is, but can you tell us about your program and sort of what makes you different from a cookie-cutter kind of drug rehab facility?
Rock, I'd be more than happy to. Let me say, first of all, we started up in 1983. I spent the next 4 or 5 years understanding addiction from a cultural perspective, how it impacts African Americans. I went to school, got the training, got the certification on white middle-class American models of treatment, traditional style treatment. We talk about individualized treatment, but treatment there is based on white middle-class American males. So I felt the need to develop a program specifically for African Americans. dealing with areas of emotional pain, defense mechanisms, survival skills, interpersonal lifestyles, how we interact with each other. Because one thing I knew while I was in treatment out there in this white treatment center, they were not addressing the issues that I was going to face when I went back home, went back into the neighborhood, because it wasn't realistic that I was going to be able to live out there in the suburbs out there with them. So I had to come back home. And that's the dilemma that all of us as African-American addicts, we got to go back into the neighborhood that is saturated with liquor stores, saturated with advertisements for liquor, drug dealers throughout the fabric of our communities, 1 out of 2 homicides drug-related, 8 out of 10 felonies where weapons involved, alcohol or drug-related. That's the reality. So we had to have a program in the midst of that community that would give some respite or some direction on how you can maintain and stay clean and sober within this environment. You know, from 1983 up until 1992, we were in St. Louis. Then I expanded the program out and went into New Orleans, Louisiana, where we were there up until Katrina hit. And now we're talking about opening back up again there. But we've had successes dealing with African-American men and women who come out and they need to have some cultural understanding, some accurate, emphatic understanding about what they're going through, the dilemmas. I listen to the. I know I'm probably getting off because. Hey,
actually, if you don't mind, before you segue there,
okay,
let me give a brief testimony to, and I want our other two guests who are on the line to hear this. I want my listening audience to hear this, and I want those of you that are watching at www.rocknewmanshow.com around the world. And my testimony is that I've had people extraordinarily close to me shattered to the ground. And when I say shattered to the ground, I'm talking about having lost everything they had except the air that they breathe. And I've called Oval Miller in the middle of the night and said, oh, if I can get him there, can you take him in? And I want to tell you there's an extraordinary success story. There are people, again, that are listening right now whose friends and family said what Van Zandt said to DMX, that your mother or your sister, your brother, your wife are only waiting for you to die. They went to St. Louis. They went through the basic program. Today, they're functioning, well-adjusted citizens in the community. And when you talk about drug rehab, that is the design, that is the desire. And Oval, I want to take my hat off for you for the great work that you've done. Let me go, Oval. Man, we could do this for 3 hours, but we only have, we only got another 30 minutes. So I'm going to go to Tia Brown. Tia Brown is an editor with Jet Magazine. And after DMX had that explosive, what I call tragic interview with Iyanla Vanzant, Tia Brown had an interview with him. Tia Brown, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
How you doing, Tia?
I'm doing well. Hi, how are you?
I also have on the line Dominic. And Dominic, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Natty, or is it Natai?
Yeah, it's Natty.
Dominic Natty. Tia, here's what I'd like to ask you. Take us back to the room you were in, the interview you were doing with DMX. What were the dynamics? What did you feel? It was a riveting interview. If anybody looked at that, you could not change the channel, if you will.
I got a chance to see it. I thank you for the email you sent me, Rock. I got a chance to see it. That was a dynamic interview.
Yeah, Tia, take us back to that moment. What did you think of DMX? How did you feel about what he had to say? Tell us about the person that you set 1 foot from.
I'm pleasantly surprised by how many people took interest in the video, and it's on jetmag.com, and you can go to just put DMX in, and you'll be able to see it for those who haven't seen it. You know, one of the biggest things people asked me is whether or not I was afraid. And I have to say, before he came, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. we know that he has an explosive temper as evidenced on the show. And we also know that he has a problem with addiction that he's been struggling with. And he also has had a lot of trauma. And so all of those things together, you just never know what you're going to get. And I have to say, when I met with him, I was pleasantly surprised, but it was also a very sad experience. And, a lot of our rappers are artists, true artists, especially I would say like older rappers, poets, and people who are hurt and people who have had their spirit broken, they cope in many different ways. And it's evident that DMX coped with substances. And he was very candid. I asked him on tape, was he still using drugs? And he said that he was not using cocaine, and cocaine had been his biggest vice, but he does smoke marijuana and he does drink alcohol, and he admitted that he had some alcohol before he came to meet with me. And I could smell the alcohol on his breath initially, and he was there for quite some time because he's very verbose. And, after a while, I think he really just, became more comfortable in his groove and just really sharing his feelings. He was very candid, and I think as a journalist, that's the biggest thing you want. And I had a lot of mixed feelings. I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn, which is an area that was hit very hard by, the crack epidemic. So I'd seen people in different phases and different walks and battles with their sobriety. And DMX had a very large team with him. He had some people who were, doing their best to be supportive, but he is a person that's living every day with addiction. And for him, that walk is at a different phase because he felt, and he shared this on tape, that his biggest demon was cocaine. But when you're still using other substances, not only are you still using them as a coping mechanism, they still impact your behavior, and there's still a lot of hurt there when you have to use it. And that's what I saw. I saw someone who, one of the things that I notice sometimes, and this is my opinion, I won't say it's a fact, but, I say to my friends, sometimes people who start using a narcotic, or a drug, I should say, sometimes they're at that phase of their life because that's the last phase you were in natural maturation. So he seemed like a very loving young man.
Okay, let me ask you, Tia. You were up close and personal with him, specifically addressing the interview with Ms. Van Zandt on the Oprah Winfrey Network. Yes. Tell us about your sense of how he specifically felt about that. Did he feel betrayed?
Well, he said it on the tape. He felt very betrayed. One of the things that and I should say that DMX asked to be interviewed, it wasn't an interview that we sought out. He says that the reason why he agreed to be on the show was to talk about issues regarding his inability to be in monogamous relationships. He said that basically, he's never been faithful in his life, even though at one point he was very in love with his now estranged wife, Tashira. And that's what he wanted to talk about. He felt like he was bum-rushed when his son and the drug issues came up. And they were feelings that he said he kept buried and he didn't want to deal with. And he was proud of, or he is proud, and this is what he said, of the growth that he's had based on where he was in his life, and that's his scale. So he wasn't, he was disappointed to hear, and he was hurt to hear that he was being attacked for things that he felt like weren't issues that he should have to deal with. And that's what he shared.
Okay, Dominic, before I come to you, I want to go to the professional here. Oval.
Well, one thing, Tia is very observant because I watched the entire video, and first he was what we would call waylaid or ambushed. What Ivana was trying to do was set up an intervention. An intervention has 5 stages, and she missed 3 of the most important ones. That was educating the participants about what was going to happen. The other thing that came out, I'm going to be quick because I know we don't have a short period of time, but his admission that he loved women. Well, to me, that wasn't honest because he never had a loving relationship with any woman beside his grandmother. And that was the one that he felt the most important. His mother sent him to a boys' home at 7. Right. And, he talked about that. This womanizing is a lot of times an exhibition of men who have a problem with their mothers. And so they really don't know how to have a relationship with a female. Now, his drug usage was there because of defending his cultural vulnerability. DMX, you know, Rock, if you go back, he says, DMX, what does that mean? And he went into Dark Man X, Dark Man Unknown.
Yeah.
He was telling you the story right then. I'm a man who is lost within himself. Now, what I would have done, first of all, you can't do what Ivana was trying to do there, one person in one or two settings.
You know, Oval, let me just say that my observation of this is, and I don't want to question her motive, I don't want to question Oprah's motive, but if your true motive is pure and you want to help someone in the state in which they found DMX, it just seems to me like the airing of this program has the potential to have greater harm than greater good, and this addiction thing ain't nothing to play with.
I agree.
It is dangerous. I want Oval to respond to that, and then I want to go to Dominic.
Rock, the thing about it, you have to be so concerned. We got guys that come to us who've locked down 26 years, guys who've murdered, guys who've committed all sorts of crimes. You have to be careful when you open those doors that they've closed. DMX has been able to survive all these years with all this bizarre behavior because he has closed the doors on that unresolved pain. You can't come into a session and open that door up, calling yourself fixing and letting it all come out. He said it on Tia's show. You know, what does he do now? What does he do now with all of this aired out? He feels humiliated. He's embarrassed. What does he do with that? All of his life, he's had to fight for his for attention, from the boys' class all the way through school. Listen, he said on the thing, I've never seen another friend of mine who had a father. So he's telling you right then, I don't know how to be a father. I've never seen anybody be a father. I'm doing the best that I can. So when you open that door on him, you let go of all of those things that he's tried to hide, and he'll go out. In a lot of cases, I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying I've seen this happen, that people try to commit suicide because they don't know where else to go.
And see, under the pretense or guise or sincerity of trying to help, and you know what, I want to say, one, we tried to do everything we could to try to get the programs, to try to get Iyanla to come on, to try to get her manager to come on, try to get, anybody that, would support what she did to come on. But under the guise, under the pretense, and maybe, as I said, under the sincerity of trying to help, when you might not be qualified to close some of those doors you open up, you run the risk of doing a lot more harm. Dominic, you are his manager. Dominic, you're his manager. You stay close to him. Did that session do anything to help, or was it more harmful? Do you, as his manager who represents him, feel he was exploited, or do you feel he was helped by the experience?
Real quick, first, I'm his publicist. He has a manager, so I wouldn't want that to come across. But yes, I'm definitely DMX's publicist, in case there's any confusion. But as far as exploitation, I would say, absolutely yes. I worked in television for 7 years before I started the PR firm, and I totally understand how television works and all this stuff. Now, as far as actually helping him, someone that's had any addiction, for over 30 years, your 1 hour is obviously not going to do it. But you can get a good, television show, as we all now understand. You can get a good TV program about it. But if you're really trying to fix someone's life, the whole concept of the show is only for exploitation. You're dealing with celebrities. Are you really? Who do you think you are that you're going to help them in 1 hour with issues that they have for 30 years? And for celebrities, like DMX, it's a lot easier to find people that are always going to accept you for where you're at. because of the fame.
Dominic, let me just jump in here, because basically what you just did is you just made a pretty serious indictment, and it's, I posted on Facebook, I said, I am concerned that a stated desire to help intersected with dollars and ratings, and maybe dollars and ratings won out. And Oval, again, going to you, the expert, I know that you must feel that that's a very dangerous game to play.
Well, it's a very dangerous, like Dominique said, you can't do it in 1 hour. And then you need, we use a team. There was so much information needed to be gathered. The assessment, the psychological makeup, from his action, he seemed like he's manic. And I'm not trying to diagnose him, but I'm just saying he was in a manic state the entire interview. So you cannot just open that door up and allow him to walk out of your place an hour or 2 hours later without having some resolution to what's going on with him. I think it was extremely dangerous. I would never have approved that in my shop at the program for anybody to do that, because it takes months and months to set up an intervention. And that's what they were trying to do, intervene. But it takes months to do that with all of the pertinent family members involved in it, so we can understand exactly what he's trying to hide, resolve, or numb out.
Okay. We have to, Tia, and I'm sure you'll understand this. We've got to take a break here, take care of a little business. We want to come back to this very important and very interesting information. We'll be back at We Act Radio on the Rock Newman Show in just a moment.
Rock Newman Show will be back after this.
Open Studio Tour is a premier arts event in the Gateway Arts District, showcasing more than 140 artists. Open Studio Tour occurs Saturday, May 11th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the Prince George's County Gateway Arts District. Attendees are able to enjoy more than 17 venues, 70 studios, and over 140 artists will be opening their studio doors. This is home to the most innovative and exciting art scenes in the D.C. metro area. The Gateway Arts District brings together professional artists representing almost every visual arts medium. This year's tour features music and live performances and an opening exhibition at the 39th Street Gallery. This event is free and open to the public. For more information, please visit gatewayopenstudios.org. That's gatewayopenstudios.org. This event is funded in part by Maryland Park and Planning and sponsored by Gateway CDC, LandX Companies, and Anacostia Trails. We hope to see you there.
Let me tell you who to blame. Blame the boy lying at your feet, his body oozing life through the hole in his stomach where the bullet tore him apart. Blame him for challenging you, for not looking away and for not backing down when you pulled out the gun. Blame your mother for bringing you into this world when she was but a kid herself and for dragging you up, not bringing you up. Blame society for not giving you hope. Blame your father for not being there, the man who looked after himself instead of looking after you. Blame the gun in your hand for making you a target, for making you more likely to be picked on. Blame the dead boy, blame your mother, blame society, blame your father, blame the gun, blame anyone but yourself for not being strong enough to put down the gun, to break the cycle.
The prodigal son of the DMV is back. Ladies and gentlemen, show your love for Rock Newman on the Rock Newman Show.
Pohanka Acura's huge March sales event is going on now. Get one of the new 2013 TLs for as low as $199 per month, or get the brand new 2013 MDX for only $254 a month. Come find out why price and selection have made Pohanka the world's largest.
The conversation that some people just don't care to have. We now rejoin the discussion on the Rock Newman Show.
Welcome back, folks. Today, August the 20th, 2013, Saturday. Online with me from St. Louis, Executive Director of BASIC, Black Alcohol Substance Intake Center, and one of the foremost expert authorities on drug addiction and rehabilitation in the world. And also Tia Brown, editor at Jet Magazine, and Dominic Nati, publicist for DMX. We're discussing the explosive interview that DMX did with Ilyana Van Zant, and it seems the more we examine this, the more dangerous the interview was. Tia, before we went to break, you were trying to make a comment. I want to come to you and let you share your thoughts.
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting, given exactly what you guys said, knowing that the type of show that it would be is, why would DMX agree to be on the show? And I thought the answer was pretty surprising, not only in what I said earlier, that he thought it was going to be about fidelity, but I also think he kind of had a sense that he would be able to control where the interview went. And I think that loss of control was another thing that really angered him. And, it's just really sad to see how everything unraveled. We can't speak to a person's intentions, so I don't know what the network's intentions were, but I definitely could see in the interview that I had with him that it was a very traumatic experience. And one of the things that he shared was that the interview really impacted his relationship with his eldest son, Xavier. He has 11 children, and 4 with his wife, 7 from outside the marriage. And Xavier being the oldest, he kind of felt like they would always have a special relationship, a special connection, and that he feels has been greatly impacted. And he holds a lot of responsibility, or he gives a lot of responsibility to for that on this intervention. And a lot of the questions that I asked him about his behavior and his interaction with his son over the years, you could see in the interview, he kind of portrays it as if he, in his opinion, has done what your other guest has said, the best he could, and that his son should know that he's loved.
4 children by the wife, 7 children out of wedlock. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. Oval, you said, Tia said, loss of control during the interview.
Exactly right. He felt, because he's always been in control of his environment. He lashes out, he's loud, very threatening. But then he come here, and now that very defense mechanism becomes an embarrassing point for him. And Tia was also right about the fact about his need to have a relationship with his son. I went through the same thing with my older son, and I had to mend that relationship. But it took time to do that because he felt abandoned and rejected. There are 4 issues that DMX was dealing with, Rock: abandonment, rejection, grief, loss, and abuse. Those 4 issues are haunting him, and they needed to be addressed one at a time with all the pertinent people involved in it. That's why it would have taken a long time to process that out. The drugs, and I know some people will disagree, but I believe in this from my heart. The drugs are not the problem. The drugs are only a medication for a more serious problem: how he feels about himself, his insecurities, his poor self-image, and how he solves problems. He has no discipline and no structure in his life. Now, that has to be brought to him with a cultural sensitivity from the environment that he evolved out of. And this is what was missing when you use the term fix. Fix means that I'm in control and you're not. Anytime you use that word fix me, that means I'm giving up my control over me and allowing you to have the authority to tell me what to do. Very few people are going to allow you to do that. I don't know many. You have to put it on plate that they participate in their recovery, they participate in their rehabilitation by listening to them and validating their pains and their defense, emotional pains, and the things that they've gone through in their life.
Dominic, as his publicist, again, you stay close to him. You help arrange interviews. You help arrange appearances. What's next for DMX? I understand that there's some relationship or there's something that he has on the horizon, that he has stopped doing interviews until he does this next thing. What is that thing?
Well, the things that we're working on, right now is he does have a film coming out, that's in production right now. That's with Mackay Pfeiffer and Waka Flocka and various other, artists and actors. And also, we're working on another album. He was just on stage with at the Alicia Keys concert in Madison Square Garden with Swiss Beats, and they're working together again. It's just there's a point of he was with DMX is a very trusting person. You walk up to him, doesn't use the internet, right? So you walk up and approach him and start talking, and if it sounds believable, then he'll trust you. And he's signed with some labels that turned out that they weren't as qualified, and also with some management in the past that hasn't been qualified. And that's just kind of how he is, because he trusts people and he doesn't research online. He just goes by what you're saying. So we had a label that we put the last album out September 11th of 2012. And just the promotion wasn't there. No one really knew about it. The mastering, all the stuff financially was just not in place. So there is another album, that we're working on, and we're trying to get some people. And it shouldn't be hard to get some features and the music done. It's just to find out, how we're going to get this done.
Okay.
Where we're at now.
Dominic, I really appreciate your time. You're on the West Coast. You're out there in the Los Angeles way, and to get up early this morning to be a part of this, I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so very much, Dominic.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay. Hey, Oval, I want to come back to you. As I hear you address what happened and what didn't happen, it's almost like I hear you ringing an alarm bell when you talk about opening up these issues that are seriously deep wounds, and that not having the time or the program or the mechanism or maybe the qualification and training to help close those wounds. I think I might be hearing you say what Iyanla is doing on the Oprah Winfrey Network could be very, very dangerous.
Of course it's dangerous. Beyond words, it's dangerous. First of all, that we got to realize that this man has developed these cultural defense mechanisms over a number of years. He talked about it at 7 years old, being put in an institution. When Ivana asked him about going to jail, was that a deterrent? He said no. He operates better in a controlled environment, in an institution. These are things that walls that people build around them to protect themselves from the reality of what's going on inside of them. He's a good guy. I agree with everybody else. He's great. He's got some demons that he needs to be allowed to flush out and realize that they're not going to threaten him anymore. One of the things that happened, Rock, right quickly, her interview, because I watched this interview last night with 3 of my counselors, and we all kind of gave input on it. The interview she had with the wife, that was not a codependency interview. The wife was suffering from codependency. Those symptoms of codependency were not discussed.
People hear that word a lot, codependency. Can you describe that for us?
Codependency is similar to the chemical dependency, the substance dependency. Only problem is it impacts family members, those who are closest to you. They're the one that pay the highest price. The mother, DMX's ex-wife, the mother of his children, has paid a tremendous price. You heard her talk about taking low, not speaking up, being verbally abused. All of these things were going on. And when Ivana asked, well, why did you stay? She made it appear that she only stayed for the money and for the good life that was afforded her for DMX. She stayed because she didn't know how to leave. She talked about it coming from her daddy. DMX's ex-wife was a adult child of an alcoholic. Her father was a drug addict. You see the pattern? The pattern just keeps coming. She didn't know how not to get out of it. And then when she did get out of it, she's still impacted by it because she hasn't had any treatment for it. The suggestion should have been that she needs to go to Al-Anon. Xavier needs to be in Al-Anon or ACOA meetings, adult children of alcoholics with drug addiction, drug abuse. My children, all 3 of my children have gone to ACA meetings. All 3 of them have been treated for codependency. You just can't just take and say, well, we're going to fix DMX and everything else is going to fall in place. That don't work that way. It just don't.
You know, you really speak of something when you say, even when you use the term, you know, and Lord knows I don't want to try to mess up anybody's hustle. But when the name of your show is Fix My Life, in other words, the client coming in is saying to you, fix my life, and you accept that. However well-meaning you may be, that has a connotation of some real supreme arrogance and a sense of self that goes beyond what the qualifications may be. As qualified as you are, I thought I heard you say you don't fix anybody's life.
No, I would never take on that responsibility. What if I tell them to do something and it's wrong? You can't do that. I mean, that's just too much power to say that you have over another human being's life. You do exactly as I say. I'm going to tell you what to do, and this is going to change. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. You have to let our clients, especially African-American men, who've been degraded and looked at as second class and not as good as and not good providers, we have to allow our young men to feel like they can take control of their lives within the societal norms. That's the only thing that's happening with him. He don't know how to transfer street behavior into societal acceptable behavior. That's the only thing. And he can be shown how to do that and to live comfortable with his new life. He can
let me ask Tia. Tia, you know, tough subject here, but man, you know, we got to call it like it is. What's your thoughts about that? Is this show something healthy or something that is proving to be unhealthy?
Well, I definitely don't want to attack the show or Iyanla Vanzant. I'm not sure what all of her qualifications are, but you know, I do know that she's worked in the helping field for quite some time. I definitely think that when a show is sliced up to have, you know, like 45 minutes, we only see a portion of it, and it's quite clear that if you're dealing with someone who has so many layers of issues as DMX, that he needs some aftercare. You know, and I also don't want to lose the point that DMX also, there were some things that he didn't want to face. And I think that it's very hard when you have someone who does have a public platform of their own and they can, you know, I don't want to say promote, but they can talk about the issues from a different perspective and kind of get people focusing on things other than the big issue. So I think it's multiple things in play here. Yeah. Does DMX need help? For sure. Was he ready for it at that time? Obviously not. And was that the right help? We've got about 20 seconds here. I'll give you the last word.
Well, you know, one of the things, Rock, and you know from years that we've known each other, we've had opportunity to service doctors, lawyers, all sorts of different people from all parts of life. All of them have a secret. The only problem is that the whole town is talking about their behavior, and they're the only one think that they keep it a secret. So you bring these things out, and confront them with it, but you have to confront them with a sensitivity that you're not trying to degrade them. You're trying to uplift them and showing them how to be better people and enjoy life. And I would love to see him have a relationship with his son, but just not the son. He's got 10 other children.
And I would love for a show that says Fix My Life to perhaps pay more attention to helping the person than helping their ratings.
It has to be about that. And Rock, I know my time is up, but let me say, Tia, when you talk with Rock, get my phone, and I'm gonna come down here to St. Louis to the Gateway and compare.
Tia, and I can tell you that would be a great experience. It's been a great experience having you both on. Thank you so much, folks. Stay tuned, because everything you ever wanted to know about DC music, you're going to learn in the next hour. We've got Herb Fame from Peaches and Herb, Skip Mahoney from Skip Mahoney and the Casuals, Mark Greene from The Moments, Sandra Bears from The Jewels. It's going to be going on up in here. Going to make me lose my mind up in her.
Sugar, this one
What do you care about? We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show.
Good God! I got to ask you, what we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry Soul Food. What we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food.
Hey, this is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've gotten based on the sale price of the car you choose. I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to timpohankaforthepeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Hi, my name is Mark Levine. I host the Inside Scoop on Washington every Sunday from noon to 3 p.m. on We Act Radio. I've been hosting the Inside Scoop since 2003 when I quit my job as a congressional attorney. I began on a suburban radio station in Northern Virginia. Since then, I've been syndicated nationwide. I've been on XM Sirius Radio. I regularly appear on the Bill O'Reilly Show, and I take down Sean Hannity. He says I give him a headache. So I don't just take apart the right wing. I bring them on my show. I give the debates that you want to hear when you argue with your colleagues. You know, at the water cooler, at the family dinner table, those benighted conservatives that, let's face it, we all have as our family and friends. So check out the Inside Scoop. We deal with everything: economics, law, politics. Sometimes we even have Nancy Skinner on and she makes me talk about Kim Kardashian, but I don't like that. So we have a well-balanced meal of radio for you. Check out the Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Mark Levine, every Sunday, noon to 3 p.m., right here on We Act Radio.
Hey, I just wanted to say that I looked at the pictures with the little deers. They're so cute. Thank you for sending them. Bye, Grandpa. I miss you. Bye. Oh, and tell Grammy I said hi.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to The Rock Newman Show.
Shake your groove thing. We're going to shake our groove thing up in here in this hour. Folks, as I said at the top of the show, April is the month in which Marvin Gaye came into this world, and it's the month that he departed this world. And as a D.C. institution and as an international legend, we here at React Radio, in our small way, want to pay some tribute and honor to one of the greatest musicians to ever grace this planet. That was Marvin Gaye. And Washington, D.C. has a rich history. Marvin Gaye was a Washingtonian, and he influenced many, many generations. And he influenced some of the individuals who are who happen to be in the studio right now. People who, on their own, went out and made a mark on this world in the music world. And I am just honored and blessed to have in studio with me Sandra Bears, who was with the Jewels. Mark Greene is on his way, as I understand it, who was with the Moments. Skip Mahoney and the Casuals with that unmistakable sound. Ron Harris to his left, who is a bit of a musicologist, we'll call it, a music aficionado, let's call him that. And Herb Greene from Peaches and Herb. As a child, I said Herb Greene, Herb Fame. Herb Fame, I so remember as a child hearing what I will describe.
Hold on.
Did I say Greene again?
No. You said you remember
as a child, as a little boy.
Yeah, hold up.
As a little boy when you was a grown-up man.
Hold up.
What I would describe is that sweet, syrupy sound of Peaches and Herb. Just something just so pleasant and pleasing and easy on the air. So to all of you, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you, Rob.
My pleasure.
Okay. Man, we could start anywhere. Ron Harris, as the aficionado, talk to us about, well, no, you know what? Let's do this a different way. I'd like to go around the horn this way and start with you, Sandra. Since it is a bit of a tribute to Marvin Gaye, to ask you to give us a reflection on Marvin Gaye, what he meant to you.
Marvin Gaye was a great artist. He gave us so much of himself. And actually, we had a little story kind of together with the Jewels. Bo Diddley helped us, and we used to go over to his house on Rhode Island Avenue to rehearse.
Wait a minute, you said you used to go on whose house in Rhode Island Avenue?
Bo Diddley.
So Bo Diddley lived here also?
Yes, he lived on Rhode Island Avenue.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yes,
All right.
And many groups or artists from this area used to go to his home because he would help you, and he'd have musicians there, and he had a connection with Chess Records. So Marvin Gaye would be over there sometime rehearsing. We didn't have a lot of contact with him because we were there to work, for the Jewels.
To get it done, yeah.
Yeah, we were there for work. So we did experience him, in that area.
Wow. Herb?
Yes.
Your reflections of Marvin Gaye.
Well, my first reflection was, I guess I can't curse, but I'll just put it this way. He could sing his tail off. And I loved to hear him sing, and I was angry when he left this earth because I wanted to hear more from him.
Yes. Yeah, man. Yeah.
When they wanted to do a life story or a book on him, I took Davy Ritz to the neighborhood that Marvin grew up in, and he spoke to Reese and all those guys and wrote that first book on Marvin Gaye. But he was excellent in everything he did musically. That's my reflection.
Skip Mahoney of the Casuals.
Yeah, when I think of Marvin, I think of Cardozo High School, which is where I went to school.
Across the street from Florida Avenue Grill.
Right across the street from the grill.
Y'all that don't know.
We used to have lunch over there, by the way. And Marvin went to Cardozo. And, when I got there, I heard about Marvin Gaye going to Cardozo, and I couldn't believe it. I said, he went here? And they said, yeah, man. And then how people scribble their names on the wall, and you would see his name on the wall, and there was a certain area at Cardozo where all the singers would gather because the echo was just right. And they would get in there and sing, and I said, man, I can't believe he went here. And one day I got the opportunity to meet him, and then, of course, I worked with Reese Palmer, who was Marvin Gaye's walk buddy back in the day. They went into the Moonglows together, and me and Reese were in the Orioles together, and Reese used to share a lot of stories with me about Marvin.
If there is one particular memory you have of Marvin that just stands out beyond the rest, Skip, what would that be?
I think it would be What's Going On. When he recorded that, it was, to me, a song that said everything about what was going on, and that's, when I think about Marvin, that how it affected me. and a lot of other people.
You know, that whole album, and for those of you who are, you know, younger out there that don't know anything about the 45 or the 78 or the jukebox, that was called an album back then.
Yeah.
Well, that album has been judged by some to be one of the greatest albums of all time, and he was insistent in his way of getting that album produced and getting it on the air against the consternation of Berry Gordy, who of course headed up the Motown label at that particular time. Yeah.
But he was married to Barry's sister,
That's
so
right.
he got his way.
That's right. That's right. And you know, there is legend, and Ron is again an aficionado. There is certainly legend that the way that ended up getting on the air was that when Motown, when are we okay? Are we okay? When Motown was moving to Los Angeles, that Berry Gordy took sort of the last trip out there to make the move from Detroit, Hitsville, USA, if you will, to Los Angeles. He got on the plane, and while he was on the plane, Marvin and some of the Funk Brothers or somebody else at Hitsville at Motown got the song very quickly to a couple of radio stations and got it on the air after Berry had said, "Don't do it." And by the time Berry Gordy landed in Los Angeles, the switchboards at the radio stations were lighting up, and and people were going crazy over the sound. So then Berry, being the smart guy that he was, started taking credit for something that he didn't want. Ron?
Well, also he didn't like Sexual Healing either. He thought that was a song that was adverse to that little popcorn sound of Motown in the 60s. But my outstanding memory of Marvin is with a skull cap on at the NBA All-Star game.
1978.
Singing that rendition of the national anthem, who his brother, Frankie, whose book is very good, one of the best of all time, said, "Marvin, you can't sing that song like that." He said, "Well, you watch me." I think he took about 4 minutes to sing that song.
And he gave everybody at the Forum at that time, he gave them a heart attack. He was known to be habitually late. And it was only moments before the start of the game, and Marvin was nowhere to be found. And so they actually had gotten someone else to get ready to come up to sing the song, and all of a sudden, they looked up and saw Marvin making his way down the arena in those dark shades. And so the guy Marvin signaled, and then he hit that thing. And initially, folks didn't know how to react. But all of a sudden, they got into the rhythm.
When have you ever heard people screaming and women just dying on the national anthem?
Went crazy.
You never heard that again?
Just went crazy. And it may be one of the most dramatic national anthems of all time. Played at the 1978 All-Star game. I'm pretty sure I'm right. 78 All-Star game at the Forum in Los Angeles. I mean, perhaps we go to Whitney Houston at the Olympics or at the Super Bowl, but certainly that's one of the all-time greats. And Marvin will forever be remembered for that. If you go on YouTube and Google,
it's there.
Marvin Gaye stuff. Yeah. I mean, and the number of hits that it continues to get. What is this? It's just 78, 25, 35 years, 36 years later, it's just absolutely phenomenal that the impact from a national anthem at a sporting event still attracts people to this day.
And no one can touch it. Nope. No one. I don't care who does it, Aretha, Blue, Black, or Greene, or anybody. They cannot touch Marvin Gaye's rendition of the national anthem.
Yeah, a very, very special talent. Lord knows we have a lot of special talent here in the studio with us. Can't believe we've already gone where we are having to take a break. Before we take that break, I want to talk to you about two of my sponsors. And that is, the first one would be the Pohanka Automotive Group. I want to tell you folks that are out there listening on 1480 AM, driving in your car, wherever you may be, and those that are listening literally around the world at Rock Newman, www.rocknewmanshow.com, that if you have any automotive needs whatsoever, how you can get them serviced, how you can get them satisfied is through the Pohanka Group. We're talking in this particular hour about an institution, Marvin Gaye, and we're talking about extraordinary talent that has come out of this city in the name of Sandra Bears, in the name of Skip Mahoney, in the name of Herb Fame. And another institution that has been in the Washington, D.C. area for many, 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 many satisfying years is that of Pohanka. If you need to buy a car, you can get the best deal there, a better deal there, and you get anywhere. If you need your car service, the same thing. If your car got dinged up and beat up, you go to their collision centers. They simply are the best in the business. That is Pohanka Automotive Group. And you heard earlier Senator Mike Miller talking about a development that was going to grace the landscape on the banks of the Potomac River, and that was the MGM Grand National Harbor. He talked about, Senator Mike Miller, talked about the benefits that this region is going to receive, that Prince George's County, Maryland, D.C., Virginia, all over is going to receive. I've seen the renditions of the structure that is going to be put over there, and it is just new age, just cutting edge development and architecture that you're going to love. Support that project. It is going to throw off money to our educational system in the area and in the Maryland area to pay for more firemen, more policemen, better schools. It is a project that is going to create over 4,000 jobs. I'm happy to have MGM National Harbor, MGM Grand, as a sponsor. We'll be right back after these messages.
We'll find out when the discussion continues after this on The Rock Newman Show. You're listening to We Act Radio, WPWC 1480 AM. Visit us online at weactradio.com.
My baby drives a Pohanka.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the Markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a Pohanka.
Good God! I got to ask you, what we need? Soul food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, I like it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food. No, we need it. Soul Food. Henry Soul Food.
Home of the the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food, Henry's soul food. What we need, soul food. Henry's soul food. We want soul.
Real talk, real issues, real life.
I got a new sheriff in town.
We now return to the Rock Newman Show.
Go ahead. Not on the outside, but inside strong. A Mark Greene from the Moments. We need you to be on the inside strong, not out there where you haven't got here yet.
You know, I grew up with Mark Greene up in Southeast.
Ain't never been on time in his life.
No. If you see some dogs coming down the street, Mark's coming behind him. He used to walk with a pack of dogs all the time.
Well, then we might not want him to come up in here then. Okay, hey folks, a quick announcement. Volunteers are needed for We Act Radio's community garden. That's for the 2013 Earth Weekend schedule. That is today from 9 to 6. Come out. There's going to be a community garden. There's going to be clearing of the grounds. Tomorrow there's going to be building raised beds to put the garden in. On Monday there's going to be planting each day from 9 to 6. Sign up for a 3-hour shift at tinyurl.com, HTTP. Just come on down to We Act Radio, y'all, and come on down 1918 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue and get your hands dirty and plant some stuff that's from the heavens. All right, just come on down here. Hey, folks, telephone number. I know many of you were trying to get in the last time. We had lines just jammed up. 202-889-9797. We have musical legends from Washington, D.C., Sandra Bears, Mark ain't here yet. You need to be on the inside strong, Mark, not on the outside. Skip Mahoney from Skip Mahoney and the Casuals, and Herb Fame from Peaches and Herb. Let me go to Herb Fame here. Herb, what got you into music, and how did Peaches and Herb come about?
What got me into music, first of all, was church. I met Peaches through a group. She had a group called the Sweet Things, and I was auditioning for Van McCoy. Well, I was working at Wax and Maxie's, and I was working another job. Van McCoy came in, and I had been asking people to listen to me, and they would say, yeah, but they wouldn't listen. So when I saw Van walk in, I started singing, "When I Fall in Love." And he said he would be back the following week, so I thought that was another lie, but he came back. He took Peaches' group and myself to New York to record. After he recorded us separately, he got the idea that Peaches' voice and my voice was compatible, and that's when we did Let's Fall in Love. And it took about a year to break it, but after that...
You know, I would be lying if I said I don't like to put people on the spot. I don't even mind putting people on the spot. Let's Fall in Love.
Let's Fall in Love.
Can you hit it?
Let's fall in love. Why shouldn't we fall? Oh no, you can't cross me on this home. I can't fight, but I can sing.
All right. Do your thing. Do your thing. Sandra Bears, the Jewels.
Yes.
What a sweet name and what a jewel you've always been. Folks in Washington, D.C. and heard your voice. They just love you.
Thank you, honey.
Gerard Pinkney sitting out there in the audience. He's a manager extraordinaire. We used to play baseball. My team used to beat his team all the time. He just loved you and loved you ever since he first heard you.
Well, thank you, honey.
Hit your favorite from the Jewels.
Oh, all of them are my favorite.
Like your children.
Yes.
Well, just go on and slap one of them.
Opportunity, whoa, opportunity. Opportunity, whoa, opportunity. You only get one.
Skip, you don't think I'm gonna leave you out? we neighbors now.
Yeah.
You know, I might have to ask you to do a double dose. You know, I remember as a college student at Howard University. You know, when you was a real grown-up man.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I remember going to a concert, and there were, I think the Dramatics were there, and the Soul Children, and all those kind of folks. And, man, all of a sudden, Skip Mahoney and the Casuals came out, and y'all was singing. You know, you were singing, you were harmonizing, and then you just broke out in that unforgettable voice. And I've always been a music lover. I grew up 1/4 mile. I'm a call a name that I know all of you know oh too well. I grew up 1/4 mile from this place. I used to sit out on my back porch every Saturday night and hear the legends from the industry who at that time couldn't perform at Constitution Hall. They couldn't perform at the Warner Theater. There's a place called Wilmer's Park.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been a music lover. It's in my DNA. So I'm watching this concert, and Skip Mahoney and the group was harmonizing, and then Skip, you break out and just go on and hit that signature.
Wherever you go, yes. I will follow. Work it.
There it is. Yes, indeed. And I was mad as hell when I heard that song.
Why was you mad, man? Mad?
Because the girl I was with was more in love with you than she was with me. Do you know who brought you here? And do you know who paid for this ticket? You better skip your money on out of here. Skip, what got you into music?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what got me into music was listening to artists like Herb, Sandra.
When you was a little boy?
That's right. Herb, no, I can say that. He knows that.
Well, see, no, hold up. You're all making me sound like I'm older than you are. But I know the reason why you said that. Because you're still young and your mind hasn't developed yet. So that's why you're saying things like that.
Say
Just
some
like
crazy,
you,
say
man.
some crazy.
You would say something like that, man. But being from D.C., and hearing about legends like Marvin, Herb, the Jewels, Billy Stewart, and they were in my neighborhood. And occasionally I would see these people at the neighborhood.
I got to do this, man. I just got to jump in here because this is what we do on the Rock Newman Show.
Yeah.
You just mentioned Billy Stewart. And his signature was? Yes. You know, I had on a good friend of mine, man, I had on Uric Brown. He was the premier of Bermuda. And he went to Howard University in undergrad, went to grad school, went to medical school, became a doctor, and he lived here in the D.C. area for a while. Well, he lived under Billy Stewart up on Clifton Terrace.
Okay.
And, man, he talked about how he has etched in his psyche today at 65 years old, hearing Billy Stewart go, hit it again. Yes, indeed. Okay, I'm sorry, Skip, I cut you off.
But, you know, I was a radio baby. My mother always had the radio right by my bed. And I used to hear songs. I had music in my head. I didn't know I could sing till I was 15. And, you know, I was thrown out of a party because we, had a little bit too much wine. And
hold on.
Yes.
You had a little too much wine. So we must be talking about 68, 72. What are we talking about?
Oh, no. I'm talking about 62.
62.
Yeah,
so
62.
Was it Mad Dog? Was it Valley High? Was it Cold Duck? Bing!
Cold Duck. You got it. That was it. It was Cold Duck.
Cold Duck.
Yes.
Cold Duck, more clinically defined as Rot Gut. Okay.
So we were thrown out of the party, and, I wanted to dance with this girl, and I didn't get the chance. So I'm sitting on a corner, and this car pulls up to the stoplight, and I Do Love You's playing on the radio.
I Do Love You, Billy
So
Stewart.
I
right.
started singing, I do love you, but it's all right. Everybody's there. You go, Herb. I think he was on the corner with me. So everybody.
You better not say Sandra was on the corner. That's all I'm gonna say. Just don't say Sandra was on the corner.
No way.
Yeah. So everybody's looking at me and say, "How do you're singing?" I said, "I am. I'm singing." They said, "Yeah." So everybody always asked me to sing from that point on. Sing a song, and I knew all the songs because I was listening to the radio day and night.
Right.
Except for it went off at midnight.
Right. Right.
The black stations only stayed on to midnight back.
Yeah, that was
That's
Wook.
right. That's right.
W-O-O-K.
W-O-O-K.
That's right.
W-O-O-K.
That's right.
Yeah. W-O-O-K. W-O-L. W-O-L, which was playing the music then. The Mighty Burner. Mighty Burner was on there. Moon Man, come fly with me.
Mr. C.
Mr. C.
Let's see. The Nighthawk said, "I'm gonna jump down your throat, splatter your bladder, and shiver your liver." Moon Man used to always say, "Come fly with me." Now, what was the guy? There was a guy at Wook. He bought a car for me at Pohanka when my first job. It was at Pohanka.
Was it Soul Popper?
It wasn't Soul Popper, the Bebopper. It was
Leon Isaac was there.
Leon Isaac. That Leon Isaac who married Jane Kennedy. That's right. Yeah, you all would remember this name. He came over and bought a car. And all I'm gonna say is he's DJ at Wook. He bought a Tornado. And he paid $9,000 cash. Now, I ain't want to start no rumors. But he came over and paid $9,000 cash.
Don't start nothing. I was the police.
Yes, you were. Folks don't know Herb Fame was the police. So, okay, Herb, you were a police officer, and I mentioned WOL. WOL, to the listening audience out there, that was an R&B station that another legendary personality from Washington, D.C. Helped gain some of his fame at WOL, Petey Greene. Mm-hmm. At some point in the late 70s or early 80s, your friend, Dewey Hughes, who's portrayed in the movie Talk to Me, his character is Don Cheadle plays Petey Greene, and the opposite to Petey Greene in that movie is Dewey Hughes, because Dewey, quote unquote, managed Petey. Well, they convinced the Sunderland Broadcasting Company to sell WOL to this small group headed up by Dewey and Kathy Hughes. And Herb Fame and everybody up here, not only are they a great musical talents, all of them got heads on their shoulders. And in that particular regard, and what I'm talking about right there, Herb Fame became one of the original investors. I ain't trying to talk to your business because your cousin's going to come ask you for some money. But Herb Fame became one of the original investors in Radio 1, which is, in WOL, which has become the conglomerate Radio 1. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Tell us about that.
Well, I really can't. I had just gotten a large check from Polygram.
How much?
A little bit. And they came to me at the right time and wanted to
You had some disposable income.
Some of that money.
Yeah.
And Dewey, being a friend of mine, right away.
So you invested in what was Radio 1 at the time. You were truly one of the original investors.
Well, I'm called an investor, but the point is I just lent him the money. I didn't want to hook him up
I see.
any further. I just lent him the money,
Right.
said do what you want to do with this money.
Right.
And they paid me back, and that was it.
Good deal, man.
Yeah.
Good deal. Sandra, tell us about, I want you, when we come back from break, I'd like for you to talk to us about the challenges of women in the industry.
Okay, I'll be happy to.
I'd really like to just kind of hear some of those stories. And we're going to talk about the Howard Theater and all the rest, I know, which all of you have fond memories of. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. Be right back in a moment. Don't touch that dial. Stay where you are. You're going to enjoy this last segment of the Rock Newman Show at WEAC Radio, 1480 on your AM dial.
Rock Newman Show will be back after this.
Pohanka Acura's huge March sales event is going on now. Get one of the new 2013 TLs for as low as $199 per month, or get the brand new 2013 MDX for only $254 a month. Come find out why price and selection have made Pohanka the world's largest.
Take Action News with David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
Well, for me, it's always been, you report the facts. You report like hell and let the chips fall where they may. And the truth ultimately is what's going to sort of help our society and help all of us. I don't think progressives want a thumb on the scale on the facts. They just want the facts out there. You let the facts out, and progressives will tell you, we're going to win 70% of the time. You may quibble with the percentages or whatnot, but I think that's just sort of what progressives are looking for, and I think that's where this all sort of meshes with my interest as a journalist. And my interest as a journalist is report the facts. Here's what's going on. Here's what the facts say. Here's what history says. Here are the lessons we know we have learned. And let people draw their own conclusions. And I think what's so unfortunate right now in the world of broadcast media is I do think that a lot of conservative radio, certainly conservative television, they're not interested in facts. And that's ultimately where I think conservative media is going to have its downfalls, that Americans are hungry. They're just hungry for basic information, hungry for basic facts. You report like hell, you let the chips fall where they may. I think it's natural for all of us who care, who are passionate about politics, who feel like we have a sense about the difference between right and wrong. I think it's okay to let that be part of your coverage. It's important for all of us as broadcasters and journalists. In this day and age, we have to be authentic. You can't be the person who's up in the ivory tower that comes down and tells people, now you must eat your peas. No, it's all about, we all have personalities, and I think it's being aware sometimes of our own bias, but also being open to the idea that sometimes we're wrong, but we have a dialogue, and we have a passionate dialogue, and we care about this country, we care about this community, and I think that sort of passion is what carries us through.
Hear more from David Schuster, Saturdays from 12 to 3 on Take Action News, on We Act Radio, 1480 AM, and weactradio.com.
The conversation that some people just don't care to have. We now rejoin the discussion on The Rock Newman Show.
This one is Now, you know what? As Sylvester once said on a song when he was with the Weather Girl, they can sing. Peach and Herb can sing. Y'all heard that song right there?
Yeah.
He said, if you can't tell they can sing, your ear must be in your foot. Children. Sandra, we left off wanting to hear from you about the challenges of women and girl groups making it in this tough cutthroat business, in this tough cutthroat music business.
Well, Rock, it was really tough for girl groups because many of them had all kinds of issues of, having a whiny sound and not harmonizing like men. Men would woo and stuff like that. And one thing that helped us, my brother had a group, the Scholars, and he sang with the El Coros, and they had a girl that sang with them, but the harmony was just a little different from the girls' harmony. So my brother would help us, Grace's brother, he would help us. And so our harmony was a little different than most girls' harmony. Even when we went out on the road and we met Gladys Knight and the Pips took to us, and they started, teaching us their little harmony and coming together like that. So to have a different sound for a girls group. That's, I think, what helped us to hang in there. And then we were committed. You know, we were dedicated. We started in church, of course, as everybody does. And we just went on from there. But you had to be committed. You had to be focused on the business and have that, I always call it, stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
You had to hang in there.
Well, let me just ask you. You know, you watch movie like Cadillac Records. You look at the Marian Anderson story. So many, even Josephine Baker.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
how much reality was it in, with females having to deal with the casting couch mentality of men, whether it be managers or record label executives or whatever? How much of that, if any, did you ever have to, wage your way through, around, over, or under?
You had to wade your way through a lot of that, but again, you had to be grounded by some means. We were grounded spiritually. And I think that's what helped us deal with a lot of that stuff that came in our direction. I'm not saying it didn't. Drugs and everything else came in our direction. But we were grounded, and we were not going that way. We were focused on what we came there for, and many times, you get bumped,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But we've hung in there for over 50 years.
Skip, I mentioned Gerard Pinckney out there in the audience, and I know that you've been working with Gerard, and you just this man is there's a term. There used to be a football player on the Howard University football team, and the announcer Joel Mungo used to say all the time, the ubiquitous Anthony Bex, because he was all over the field. Well, Gerard Pinckney is all over the internet promoting the hell out of Skip Mahoney and the Casuals, and I think really is a manager extraordinaire, and you guys have been getting a lot of activity. You've kept active at even at this stage of your career. What's next for Skip Mahoney and the Casuals?
Well, at this point, we want to continue to perform and, do God's blessing for the blessing that He's given us, to be able to still perform after all these years, And me personally, I want to pass it on to some of the young entertainers out there. Like Herb was speaking, of, possibly, trying to get a local label started here in the area. And, I'm producing a young act right now that I think had some great potential. Someone helped me when I was a young man, and so now I'm passing it on. And, so being a writer and a producer, that's given me some longevity in trying to stay in the business as well as performing. And with a gentleman like Gerard Pinckney, hopefully we'll get another 10 or 20 years out of it.
You go. Mark Greene just came in the house here. Mark, we've been having a lot of fun. Thank you so much, man, for coming on the Rock Newman Show. Each of the guests here have talked about how they got started and how the group got started. Tell us about the moments. How did that come about?
Right up the street. Parkland. Right down the street from Parkland. Actually, it was in Savannah. Three young gentlemen came, Richard Gross, John Morgan, and Eric Opus of Southeast Washington. These guys are legend singers, and they were together in 1963 on Hog label, and Freddie Perrin, who's the writer, producer, along with the Mizell brothers, they produced a 45 vinyl on Hog label. It recorded here in Washington, D.C., and the two-piece they recorded was Pray For Me and Baby, I Want You. So I didn't go.
Uh-huh.
And in 67, they picked me up, and we went up to Jersey, Inglewood, Hackensack, Teaneck area, and Ed Townsend, the guy who did For Your Love, that song.
Sure.
And we were introduced to him, and he played piano. He said, let me listen to you guys, you like this. At the time, Sylvia Robinson, who was from Love is Strange, guitar, her and Mickey and Sylvia.
Hold on one second. Sylvia Robinson, Mickey and Sylvia, Y'all on the microphone together, male and female voice. Shall you dare hit it for a second? Just a second.
What?
Mickey and Sylvia. Love is strange.
Well, love is strange.
Well, I tell you, anybody that knows me close, knowing I'm having a good time up in here.
See, now Herb and I sang together.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was telling them how you used to walk with all them dogs all the time. See, I was scared of you.
Best dogs. Best dogs.
Come close
Best
to the mic.
dogs, because they were good hunting dogs and good watch dogs. And I love dogs, animals, you know, birds and bees. I studied science and was one of the best in my classroom.
Somebody told me you had a PhD in the birds and the bees.
True. PhD and I won't say that one. Never. But I learned bird language, you know, from the. You know, so
wow.
I learned the bird language, you know, and
Yeah.
but I did a lot of hunting, outdoor life, agriculture. But on the corner in Berry Farms, there was none other than Herbert Feimster.
Herb Feimster.
Herb Feimster, myself, maybe a guy named Gillis. Was it Gillis?
Reggie Gillis.
Reggie Gillis, the late Reggie Gillis. No, Reggie's still there. And
Yeah.
his brother. And another guy named Donald Spriggs.
Yeah.
We called him
Buck.
Singing guy. And we doo-wopped on the corner.
You doo-wopped on the corner.
Doo-wop.
What was your favorite doo-wop? What was your favorite doo-wop?
Little Anthony and the Imperials.
Stop there. Stop there. Her, Mark Greene. Little Anthony and the Imperials doo-wop.
I'm on the outside looking in.
I don't wanna be left on the inside.
You are with somebody new, and I don't know what to do, 'cause I'm still in love with you.
In love with you.
On the
Man, let me tell you something. This is just too great. This is just too great. Herb, I was coming back to you. Man, one of the sad stories, and you see it in every Marvin Gaye play. Mark, we're talking a lot about Marvin Gaye and his influence on the DC community. But man, you see where Marvin was just torn up with the loss of Tammy. He just Marvin Gaye and Tammy, man, was just such a special sound. And you know, we lost Tammy, and you saw him just fall apart then. And that was a time when you were going strong with Peaches and Herb.
Right.
I can only imagine how that must have affected you, how the feelings you might have had when you saw sort of Marvin lose his half, you know?
Well, we know we always must go on. And I know how he felt because you become intimately involved, not sexually, but just intimately involved with the person that you're working with. You love them, you protect them, and when they leave you, it's like your family leaving you.
Yeah.
And you hurt.
Yeah.
But you know, in order to sustain that name, you go on.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done. Because I lost my partner.
And what was the process for you in replacing the original Peaches, Linda Greene?
No, the original Peaches was Francine Hurd. She lived over in Southeast.
But I'm saying next was Linda Greene?
Next woman that I recorded with was Linda Greene. That was Shake a Groove Thing and Reunited and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and I just saw her 2 months ago in California. She's still beautiful. I want you guys to know. Outstanding.
Yeah. Shake Your Groove Thing, man. Shake Your Groove Thing. I mean, that really, you know, you went up tempo. You went up tempo, which was sort of broke the mold as what folks thought about Peaches and Herb singing the ballads and smooth and crooning and baby making music, and then you went to Shake Your Groove thing.
They didn't expect that, and that's what Freddie Perrin knew, and he wrote Shake Your Groove thing and produced it, and it worked.
Mark, you got here's what I want to ask you. Not on the outside,
but inside strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think my heart's made of stone.
Come on. Come on.
And when you're near me, there's no reaction. Well, you're wrong. From the tip of my toes, my love for you steadily flows on and on.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now, I asked Sandra about the trials and tribulations of being a woman in a male-dominated industry. What was especially when you were coming through, and still today, really. So I asked Sandra about that. Now, there is a body of thought that guys who pick up that microphone and hit those tunes, that they touch something in women that few others do.
Yes, sir.
And all the athletes that are out there playing the baseball game and everything else, they just wish they could hit it. So now, just tell me some of the experience. Just tell me now. Well, tell me. I mean, did you get panties thrown at you and bras thrown at you and all that kind of stuff?
I was throwing my pants.
Oh my God.
All the, Mark.
Listen.
How easy was it?
They say.
They say. You had heard.
Actually, my niece told me, she said, I was singing to her. She said, you sing right through the drawers. I said, what do you mean? She said, I feel all of that. The voice is a electronic mechanism on a spiritual level.
Come on.
That
I had this conversation with Quincy Jones, but I want to hear it from you.
That brings forth the emotions of a human being who has a romantic, or a romanticist, that is, that it's within them. Their whole makeup is feeling and expression, and who has the best, which is created for us, other than a woman?
Other than?
Huh?
Only thing I like more than a woman is money.
Oh, well, I'm thinking of women.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm thinking of women.
So right now you're on that category.
I'm trying to stay on that street. I'm not moving. And they get it. And as soon as you hit the first 2 or 3 notes, which you know yourself as well as you, they feel it.
So what's the most aggressive thing that ever happened to a woman trying to come get with you? What's the most aggressive thing that ever happened to you?
A woman drove 200 miles from, I was in Fort Sill. We did a 21-state tour. I had just left, the Moments had just parted for a minute. Sylvia Robinson, but nevertheless. 21-state tour, Midwest, and I met somebody in Oklahoma. Paid no real attention, had to sing my song. It was a military thing. All of that was military performance.
Right.
And lo and behold, she drove 200 miles to Scott Air Force Base in Illinois and told me, I am waiting for you.
Had to have you.
Had to have me.
Skip Mahoney.
Nah.
Skip Mahoney. Tell it all. Go ahead.
I gotta tell it all.
Go on.
Oh my God.
I said, oh, I don't do married women. She said, well, he's having fun, doing what he want to do. She had the front seat. She jacked that seat up and cranked it back. I was sitting on the right-hand side. I'm like the song Michael Jackson did, Dirty Diana. I got out of the door, went on the driver's side, and she said, where you going? I said, I don't do married woman. She said, when I get out of this marriage, she said, I'm coming to see you. I said, then I'll see you then. 200 miles.
Hey, he lied.
He claimed he got out the car.
He lied.
He claimed he got out the car.
Wait a minute.
Nobody from D.C. would have got out of that car. You lying.
I don't do married women.
Yeah, okay. Skip.
Yeah.
What's the most aggressive?
Well, I think the most aggressive for me was a young lady coming to the dressing room, and they had locked the door, and I was the last one to come out. She was waiting for me, and they said he's gone, but she said no, he isn't. He's still in there. And so she really was trying to break the door down, kicking the door, and trying to get in, and I never came out because. That was in New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey. So y'all know. I don't have to say anymore.
I'm learning something sitting at this table. Fishermen ain't the only people that lie. Yeah, musicians lie also.
That's right.
That's what I'm learning. All right, Herb, tell the truth.
Here you go, Mars.
Hey, Herb, rolling the way that you roll, what was your observation about kind of the most aggressive act that a woman took to get to you?
My brother.
As we close up here.
My brother. I've been married 53 years, and I'm going to stay that way. I'm not saying a word. Here you go, Marge.
Oh, man. Hey, I got to thank you guys. This hour went by so very, very fast. Let's see. Is it anything, Ron, what song can they all hit for the last 30 seconds? Okay, how about Peaches and Herb, everybody, kick it on. How about y'all want to do Ain't Understanding Mellow? Can we do that? Can't do that?
Do something by Shep.
Shep.
Yeah.
Oh, not the Unifics, but I wanted to ask y'all about them, but it's too late.
Shep.
How we close?
Your kiss,
Walla walla what really makes walla walla what
me feel
walla walla
so wonderful,
wonderful, so wonderful.
Your smile.
Walla walla wop. Oh, we all off key. Walla walla wop wop wop. Walla walla wop wop wop. Walla walla wop wop.
So grand.
So grand.
And wrap it up.
So grand.
Wrap it up with Billy Stewart. Let's wrap it up with Billy Stewart.
In the park, waiting for you. Shut up.
Yes,
can't mess with us. We can't.
Hey, I got nothing to say except for see you next week, y'all.
Good afternoon, everybody. David Schuster here on Take Action News, a special weekend show, April 20th edition, joined as always by our executive producer, Daniel Marins. Daniel, how you doing this? I almost called you Darren. Daniel, how you doing this weekend?
I'm doing great, David. It has been a crazy week, a disappointing and sad week, but we have the pleasant weather here on the East Coast to I suppose console us.
Absolutely. In fact, the big story this week, and I think you put your finger on it, you're hinting at it, is the Senate was unable to move forward on gun control legislation. 54 to 46 senators supporting background checks, a bipartisan proposal from a Republican, Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania, and Joe Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia. They needed 60 to break a Republican filibuster. 5 Democrats joined the Republicans to block this. Harry Reid joined just for a procedural maneuver, so he would have an option of bringing it up. But a devastating setback for a lot of folks supporting gun control. And one of the most remarkable things that I saw, Daniel, in this whole debate was during this